What is going on, everyone? How you all doing? Welcome back to Worsk Live. Today, I will be moderating a debate between Richard, aka Vegan Gains. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. Yeah, I'm just ready to get the shit rolling. I saw JF's debate with Ask Yourself a while ago, so I think I know the general premise of his argument.
All right, because I think JF, you were saying you're like I have the perfect argument that would win any debate against a vegan.
I don't know if I said I would win any debate, but I do think that I have a very unique argument against veganism, or at least for meat eating.
All right, perfect. And of course, JF, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I was just creating my new hat with some fox fur. I killed it. And it's good that it's a vegan debate today because I did kill a fox yesterday.
Yeah, for people who did.
How did that happen? Were you just hunting?
No. It was yesterday.
It's not an actual fox. It's a guy on YouTube named Johnny Fox.
Oh, okay.
Who just left the internet following his interaction with me.
Okay, nice.
Oh man, yeah. So if people don't know what happened, Johnny Fox jumped in an hour or two of the show, and kept coming at you with argument after, and you just kept freaking slapping him down every single argument, right? Until I think it was like half an hour, and apparently people on his Discord and on his chat, because he was double streaming this, were like, Johnny, shut the fuck up, just get out of there. And he brought on a buddy who he thought was going to destroy JF. He's like, I have a friend. He's going to be on his way right now. He's going to destroy JF. He shows up after Fox leaves and goes, JF, I don't agree with you a lot, but I'm so sorry that Johnny was a retard. It was so fucking bad. And then today on Kumite, I was telling you, JF, was I got Johnny to hop on the Kumite. And I tried to explain to him what happened. And he ended up saying, all right, you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Fine. And it was pretty funny to see him fold like that. But apparently he's going to ruin Tonka. He just tweeted out, I'm going to ruin you, Tonka. And you know what it is. So I'm very excited to see what happens there.
He's going to do to Tonka what he did to me.
Oh, shit. All right. So, yeah, I guess, like, do we have any rules we want to set here? Do we want more internet blood sportsy? Like, what are we looking for? What are you guys feeling?
Well, I like free-flowing kind of conversations, but if it gets out of hand, then just jump in, kind of break things up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good.
Andy, I would say just think that you're JF for tonight, and think, what would JF do? Okay. Would he step in? Would he not step in?
I'll use my accent for this one. It'd be great. All right. All right. Looks like people are starting to come in. People are all saying in the chat, a blood sports. So this is what the audience wants in the public space. So we're going to be doing that. All right, guys. So let's start, I guess, with JF. What's your argument against or for meat eaters, rather?
So I have an intellectual argument, if you will, but first and foremost, I'm a meat eater. I enjoy ribeye steak, very rare ribeye steak. I think of the foie gras I've been eating in my life. It is a special human experience to be eating foie gras. And it's a part of our culture, and it's an experience that I would like people to enjoy at least once in their life. Just chop a liver of a duck that has been unfattened. It's like butter. It tastes awesome. Just cook it in a searing pan with a little bit of salt and pepper. Put it on a piece of bread with raspberry jam. It is the best thing you will ever eat. Now that's at an emotional level. In terms of the argument I'd like to do tonight, I'd like to appeal people to tolerance against meat eaters. Meat eaters are not cruel people. We do not want to hurt animals. And most importantly, we are conscious that we live in a system, in an ecological system with animals that live in our farms, such that we are the environment of these animals. We provide them with shelter, food, and reproductive capabilities that allow them to have a line of descent that many of their similar counterparts, which remained wild, did not get a chance to get. And so what I appeal people to understand is that people who eat meat are part of an ecosystem with farm animals, that this system is at the benefit both of humans and of these animals. And yes, I'm all for reducing the suffering of animals in farms, but I'm not for totally annihilating the farm industry, and with it, annihilating the species that have accompanied us in this existence on this planet.
Okay. It's an interesting argument. I remember seeing your debate with Ask Yourself, and one of the big points you made was that if we stopped farming, it would be sort of a genocide against these animals. Is that like the type of wording you choose?
Yes, yeah,
Right.
I would say that if too many people become vegan in one shot, or even in a progressive fashion, we would be essentially terminating lines of descent of beings who want to reproduce, and this would effectively be a genocide. We would destroy genes that could exist in our world, and they would not be there anymore.
Okay, I have a few problems with that. First of all, like, if you're going to say, like, just mere existence is a sort of moral virtue, and passing on your genes is a moral value, then couldn't you say, like, somebody like me who's gotten a vasectomy and chooses not to reproduce, am I committing, like, an act of genocide against my own species, and is that immoral?
Well, I don't think that you're committing a genocide against your own species. You are definitely committing a genocide against your genes. But fortunately, there's many humans around you who will maintain the species itself. But yeah, definitely you are stopping your genes from passing to the next generation if you've cut your channel like this.
Okay, well, is that not tantamount to murder then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying it's murder. I'm saying there is value in allowing life forms to exist, in my view. And I don't claim it's an objective value. So to specify for those who don't know me, I'm a moral nihilist. So everything I'm talking about here is not objectively moral truth. It is my preference. I have a preference as an observer of life on Earth. When I look at all the life forms, when I look at the birds in the wild, when I look at our farm animals, when I look at our dogs, I see beauty in this, and I want this to continue. I don't want entire species or parts of species to be eradicated. And I kind of work with the assumption that things that live on this planet want to reproduce unless they tell me otherwise.
Okay, but you saying that I'm sort of committing a genocide, but like on my own genetic line, that sounds like you're claiming that not reproducing is tantamount to murder.
Well, it's, I mean, because murder has a technical meaning, which is essentially stopping a life that already exists. So I wouldn't use the word murder. But definitely from the perspective of your genes, you are stopping a natural progression, which was that for 4 billion years, you had lines of descent that have led to you. You are putting an end to it. For 4 billion years, your DNA was making copies of itself. Sometimes it was part of your DNA that was present in some other ancestor. Sometimes it was present in a fish-like ancestor. Sometimes it was present in a bacteria-like ancestor. This chain of living things that have led to you, the day you've decided to destroy your sexual organ, you have put an end to their natural progression into the next generation. It's not wrong, by the way. As far as I'm concerned, humans are free not to reproduce if they don't want to. But if I see a living thing on this earth that descends from a line of descent of 4 billion years, and I have no sign that this thing does not want to reproduce, I would find myself morally presumptuous to assume that chicken are okay with dying and not leaving descent. I assume that life forms that exist today want to leave descent.
Okay, so it's not immoral for a human being to choose not to reproduce, but are you trying to suggest that it's immoral to choose not to breed animals in captivity?
I'm suggesting that interfering with the natural breeding of animals in captivity is something
Okay,
that I don't like. That I wouldn't want this to happen.
right. That word choice is kind of weird though. Natural, like natural, what did you say? Natural breeding or
The natural breeding in captivity of
well,
farm animals.
well, that's not natural. Like that's actually human intervention. That I don't understand
Well,
how you could actually consider that natural.
humans are part of nature. We are a life form, and it happens that within the things that we've created in this world, which is our environment too, it happens that other life forms can live within our phenotype, just like bacteria live in our intestine, just like viruses live in our cells. Chicken can live in our farms. And so, as far as the chicken is concerned, and from a biological evolutionary perspective, we are natural, just like the chicken, and the things that we construct for chicken are natural. Now we can get into the semantics and we can start saying, okay, natural is anything that humans haven't done. But as far as I'm concerned, humans are part of nature. And just like the ants that are cultivating bacteria on leaves, we are cultivating chicken in our farm and in cages.
Okay, so like with that definition, you can literally claim anything's natural.
Oh, absolutely.
Like cell
Everything is
phones are
natural. The
natural.
observable universe is all a result of natural laws.
Okay. Okay, well, that's kind of besides the point, but okay, the argument I would have there where you're claiming these so you're saying from your own personal perspective, you wouldn't want to stop breeding these animals because it would mean an end to their genetic presence on Earth.
Yep.
Right.
One other way. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, like I'd like when I look at something like this, I'd look at it more from an empathic perspective. Like if I were a chicken, I wouldn't want to have somebody's will imposed onto me. Like I wouldn't want some sort of existence where someone decides whether or not I live, how I live, where I live, who I can choose to breed with. Like this argument that we have to keep breed like these animals want to be bred to pass on their genes, like it's kind of odd because not all these chickens that are even being killed get to pass on their genes. That it's like that's part of the selective breeding process. So wouldn't that be then immoral to kill a chicken that didn't even get to pass on its genes? Like
Yeah, that's a good question, and I didn't have the time to explore this with Ask Yourself, so I'm glad you're asking, and I will also address your first point later. Firstly, I will say there are systems of life that develop in a way that ant colonies develop, which is a system of queen and sterile workers, and that's fine. Life sometimes leads to that. The system that we currently have in farms is a queen sterile worker system, even if it didn't evolve without human intervention. It doesn't change the nature of it. The reality is that the chicken that we kill in farms are essentially genetic copies of a main chicken breeder. And in fact, this is even more true in oops, sorry, I lost my mic. This is even more true in cows and pigs, where a handful of cows and pigs are actually inseminating the entire country. And what you really have is a diversity of female pigs who are giving birth to a few select to children that are created from their egg and from a few select elite pig male that produce sperm for the country. Now, that's a queen sterile worker system, and I don't object to that, because sometimes life finds a way into the fact that the chicken, from a genetic perspective, the chicken that you kill and that didn't leave descendant is actually a servant of the genes of its queen, of the main chickens that are involved in reproduction. And from that perspective, he is a sterile worker, and he's doing the same job that an ant in a colony would do, while knowing that, I mean, the ant doesn't know, but we know that the sterile worker in the ant colony will not get reproduced, but its genes are going to get reproduced by the queen.
Okay, I see that as a false analogy. Like the sterile workers in an ant colony, they actually serve a function in the colony, like foraging for food, protecting the nest, what have you. Like the sterile worker, quote unquote, like the chickens that aren't selected for breeding, they don't have any kind of practical function in a quote unquote chicken colony, like just
they actually do.
Farm. It's
their
just
function.
Killed.
Their function in the chicken colony is to feed humans that will finance the reproduction of their queen chicken.
Okay, but that's okay. That still seems like a false analogy to me, because like with the ant analogy, you're kind of like with the ant analogy, the sterile worker actually has a function for its own species, whereas the sterile worker in the chicken colony just has a function for your own personal, like, mouth pleasure, essentially.
Well, it's not true that it ends with humans eating chicken, because the reality is that humans pay for their chicken. So there's money coming in the farm, and the money is then used to give shelter to the queen chicken in some way. Sometimes it's going to be in an industry. Sometimes it's not going to be a classical farm. Of course, we can talk about whether this happens locally at the level of a single farm with a single farmer choosing his chicken for reproduction, or it can happen at the national level where you have beefs like Starbucks who are producing sperm for millions of cows across the country. But in any case, there is a system of economic return that allows the service of the way that the meat of these sterile chicken and sterile cows, they're not actually sterile, but they are sterile because we don't allow them to reproduce. So in that sense, they are sterile. These sterile cows serve the genetic interest of their queen, because the farmer will return the money to the queen either by paying for the sperm or by caring for the queen beef or the queen pig. And in that system, the genes ensure their survival. That's how evolution works. And by the way, it's not an analogy. It is a real thing that the current system of farming animals is a system of queen and sterile workers.
Okay, I heard you say they're serving a function to preserve the... I can't remember exactly how you worded it. Like, I'll paraphrase, but it sounded like you were trying to say that the cows that are being bred for, or sorry, the cows that are allowed to breed and pass on their genes, it's like they have, you're trying to suggest it's as if these animals kind of recognize that those cows that are being bred, or, you know, those chickens or pigs or whatever, they have optimal genetics that those animals want, when that's not actually the case. A lot of animals that are being selectively bred, actually this happens in literally every animal that's selectively bred. Humans breed in traits like bigger muscle size, like in Belgian blue cows. That's a great example. So it increases meat production. But that's not actually a desirable trait for those animals. It causes them serious fucking health problems. And in every selectively bred animal that I know of, their life expectancy is reduced. Pretty much every dog breed has a lower life expectancy than their wild counterpart, with the only exception, I think, being the Saluki and possibly Australian cattle dogs, but that's only because their genetics are so closely tied to their ancestors. But, like, what do you think of that? Like, with Belgian blue cows, okay, we breed in, there's that weird genetic mutation they have that lets them have twice the amount of muscle as a normal cow. That might be an ideal trait for a human for food production, but for the cow, causes them tremendous health problems. They have serious issues with their joints. They can't walk properly. They can't move properly. The females can't even actually give birth. They have to have a C-section, basically, like the equivalent of a C-section, to even give birth. So what do you think of that? Like, is that not animal cruelty in itself? Because you were actually talking about how you don't want cruelty to animals. You just want them to live, reproduce, and like die peacefully. That's kind of the idea I was hearing from you.
Yeah, certainly. I'm not for if we were to create breeds that are suffering. I'm all for finding a solution to that, which is probably actually by continue breeding them until some of their descendants will find a way so that the defect that were introduced in the breed would disappear or would be solved by a kind of alternative scenario, an alternative solution found by evolution. And I believe this happens all the time.
Well, what would even be the value in that? Because if you're going to fundamentally change the species like that, then like it's basically the same as just interrupting their entire genetic line.
No, because for example, let's say you have a population of dogs and you've selected these dogs, and of course you didn't want them to suffer, but it just happens that by selecting them for the cuteness of their tail, you've ended up bugging their brain.
Sorry, just to, I don't mean to interrupt. Like, let's say a really good example of this is like large breeds of dogs, like German Shepherds, Great Danes especially. They're bred to be very large, but it increases the risk of hip dysplasia. So like use that as an example.
So on the one hand, I will say if it's a matter of life duration, for me, life duration is not a value that I care that much about. So it's not a problem for me that some life forms live for 24 hours. Some life forms have a duration of life of a few hours, and some life forms live for 60 years. That's fine with me. Now, as far as suffering would go, what I would suggest is that in your population, you're going to have genetic diversity anyway. And some of these dogs will not have good hips. Some of these will have slightly better hips. And some of them will have reconnected brain wiring so that the hip problem becomes less damaging or less problematic, if you will. Now, that's out of pure random, and that's what we know emerges from any sort of population. You always have genetic diversity. My suggestion is that the economical system that selects these animals anyway will not be selecting for maintaining animals that are constantly suffering. I mean, people want to have a dog that will be healthy, that will look healthy, that will interact with them. And so from the natural selection pressures that breeders apply by choosing the dog that looks best, I think that we will often converge toward animals that are doing good, that are not suffering, just like most life forms have evolved such that if they don't have any major injuries, you and I, we don't feel pain for no reason. And I think that this is the natural convergence of evolution, and it still happens in animals that we breed and we control in our farms and in our homes.
Okay, well, 2 points I want to bring up there. Like, that's just the fundamental problem with selective breeding. It's just not as effective as creating, nowhere near as effective as creating healthy, successful species as compared to just natural selection. That's why dogs in the wild live, well, they don't necessarily live a longer life because other things might kill them, like they don't get medical care, so if they get into a fight, they could be totally fucked. But I mean, considering like maximum life expectancy, like a wolf in the wild can live easily 20 years, but like a German Shepherd might live 10 or 11 if it's lucky. Like, that's just an effect of selective breeding. Like, it's just such a complex process. I don't think you could really ever just know every single trait and how certain genes affect other genes, and then create a dog that can like live just as long as its wild counterpart. And again, you're going to have a conflict with industry, like with the Belgian blue cow example. Okay, well, having a cow that is bigger, like has more mass on it, it's good for industry because then you can sell more meat, you get more profit. But it's not good for the cow. So like you can do certain things to alleviate that, I'm sure, with again selective breeding. But like with the dog example, like we've bred dogs to be super huge and now they have hip dysplasia problems. But even with like selective breeding, like dog breeders, they try to only breed dogs that don't have these hip problems. Even with that, they're still going to have hip problems. Like, and the same thing with Belgian blue cows. Okay, well, you could try to breed these cows in a way that, I don't know, you could reduce pressure on their uterus or something where they can have birth properly, but there's still going to be that issue, like these sorts of issues in that breed, just because they're so massively huge. You're selectively breeding these animals and you're not letting natural selection, the process of natural selection, take over. You're just trying to breed in traits that's beneficial to these industries. So you're just inevitably going to end up with animals that aren't as healthy as they could be if natural selection were involved.
Well, this I will completely deny. The first thing is to claim that cows are not, the cows that we bred and the chicken that we bred are not successful for themselves is false. Okay, they are some of the most successful animals. They've succeeded at spreading.
Sorry, just so you understand me. I mean successful in a way where they're as healthy and have the longest life expectancy as possible. Not just it's very easy for them to continue their genetic lineage. I just want to make that clear.
In a perspective of hundreds of years, why does the duration of life of single individuals matter that much?
Okay, well, do you want to live long?
I want to, but I don't think that I would impose that to any other life form. I wouldn't think that the bacteria is living I don't think that bacteria are living a terrible life just because they can reproduce every 24 hours.
Well, bacteria aren't sentient, so that's completely irrelevant. I mean, sentient beings, they, like, unless you're talking about somebody who's depressed, sentient beings want to live the longest life possible. That's just a fact of self-preservation. It's like the most basic instinct. So, like, talk to every person on the planet, like, unless you're talking to somebody who's severely depressed, they want to live as long as possible. And it's the same thing with these chickens and cows and pigs.
There's a reason they want to live as long as possible. It's because in nature, it gives more opportunity for breeding. And the reason the desire to live and the desire to survive evolves is because it preserves you long enough so that you can reach your adult life and reproduce. Knowing that this function of chicken and farm animals are being handled by humans, there is no particular reason why a 12-year-old cow and a 15-year-old cow, that any of these situations would be morally preferable. These cows will have a chance to live. They will experience the whatever subjective consciousness they can experience. And it's not a wrong strategy for a life form to decide to have shorter lives at the service of more reproductive success.
Well, that's the issue. They didn't decide that. You're making that choice for them.
Well, they didn't decide cognitively, but they decided evolutionarily. The same way when humans started creating shelters for ourselves, it wasn't necessarily a conscious decision that, okay, we're not going to live in nature anymore. We just covered ourselves with shelters. And what it led to eventually is the construction of houses that we have today. And what it results in are humans who today cannot live in nature. There are some places on Earth where humans could live in principle, but where if you send a modern human there, they will die. The conditions will be too extreme. So I would send back this example to you for your earlier statement, which is you seem to imagine that the criteria for cow or pig interest is the criteria by which they would survive in nature. But the reality is that life forms end up living in certain environment and they choose evolutionarily. Okay, I agree. Evolutionarily, they choose. I know that it's not always a cognitive choice, but they choose to live under certain environments that allow their survival. And that choice was made by some bird at some point. Some chickens, at some point, approach humans while other chickens did not. And the chicken that live today are those that approach humans. And they're using us to pursue their reproduction. And it's a beautiful thing. I don't want to stop it.
Okay, there's some weird thoughts here. First of all, like, animals don't choose how they evolve. Like with that chicken example, like, okay, chickens approached humans. That's not really how domestication of animals went. It's really animals that were just easy to domesticate, like, we ended up domesticating. There's a reason why in the Americas, before the Europeans came, like, the Indians, like the native Native Americans, Indians, Aboriginals, there was a reason why they didn't domesticate the buffalo. It's just because they're really fucking hard to domesticate. Like, they're huge, massive animals that can just run you over. They don't listen well, and if you try to pen them up, they can just break out. Like a small flightless bird that has a sort of horde group mentality, the descendants of like sheep, horses, they all have like this group mentality where they recognize a leader and they just follow that leader. Like, it's not that they made some sort of conscious decision, okay, this, like, following these humans, like, they're going to breed us and kill us, and that's going to be the best way to continue our genetic lineage. That's not really how it happened. Like, it's just humans recognizing that these, like, it's easy to exploit these animals, like natural behavior, this instinct to follow a herd, and like, they're just easy. They listen fairly well. They're not super powerful, like to the point where we can't control them at all. So that claim that these animals made a conscious choice to be perpetually bred and murdered to preserve their genetic lineage, that's kind of nonsense. And
well, I'd like to answer to this one. So I don't claim that they made a conscious choice, and I want to be clear about what I mean by evolutionary choice. I really don't claim that it was conscious.
Well, evolution isn't a choice. Like, I don't know why you're using that set of words. It's just really
what I'm
weird.
saying is that there are life forms who have certain characteristics, and some of these characteristics will pay off in certain environments, others will not pay off. For example, when humans took birds and they catched whatever bird were around them and were accessible and were not flying fast enough, it was what I call an evolutionary choice from the perspective of the bird, because the bird, there were many birds at the time.
Wait, could you just hold up for a second? What do you mean by evolutionary choice?
What I mean is that your genes can be in a certain way. They can mutate toward a certain direction, or they can mutate toward other direction. For example, if you have a bird, you can have a line of descent of birds that will evolve to fly extremely fast at the sight of anything. Then you can have another line of descent of birds that will have the genes so that they don't fly and they're not scared of humans, or they're less scared of humans.
Okay.
As it turns out, those that were less scared of humans, it was genetically, it was the most genius idea ever.
Okay,
just
wait.
Don't run when you see a human, or don't run fast enough and let the human catch you.
Okay,
or if you want to take the buffalo example, do not grow a 600-pound body. That's the solution that some animals have found, and as it turns out, it was genius. It allowed them to conquer the entire earth, and they live today in our farms.
Okay, you're talking about you're just basically talking about evolution. I don't understand where evolutionary choice comes into things. Like with the bird example, okay, there's some birds that will fly away at the sight of anything. Okay, well, that might be an evolutionary adaptation because they lived in an environment where there was a ton of predators, and that sort of instinct to run at the sight of anything was evolutionary beneficial. Whereas some birds lived in an area where there just weren't any predators. So they didn't evolve, like they didn't adapt to have that sort of instinct to just run away. Where does like the word choice?
Semantics.
Sorry?
I'm not attached to the semantics of choice. We can call it something else. We can say there are different line of descents that mutate differently, and they survive at different rates and they reproduce at different rates.
Okay, like I understand that, but when you say evolutionary choice, it's sort of like you're trying to manipulate things into a way where you're suggesting these animals made a conscious decision to be domesticated and bred. And
all right. So to avoid this confusion, I will abandon the word choice, and I will simply say that there are some animals that have found themselves into a genetic line of descent that was allowing humans to catch them, and that was genius from the perspective of the survival of their genes. That was the best thing they ever came up with.
Like again, you're saying genius and came up with as if it were a conscious choice for them to make it when it's not.
Okay, let's remove came up with. They were that way, and that was good for them, and I don't want to kill them today for that.
Okay, so because they had a particular genetic lineage that made them easier to domesticate, you therefore don't want to end their genetic lineage.
No, I respect it. I respect the life forms. I like it.
Okay, well, if you actually respect the life forms, then like why do you not have a problem with killing them prematurely before like their life expectancy is up?
Well, because if we weren't killing them in a way that allows the use of their meat, they wouldn't have the environment that they currently have. They wouldn't have the possibilities for reproduction that they currently have. And the farm industry would reduce in size because there would be no one being interested in paying for these chicken. The reason people pay for the chicken breast is that there is a chicken breast. And the way to ensure that this chicken breast is healthy and that it will be bought is to ensure that we kill the chicken quick and that we get the breast out so that it can be eaten.
Okay, well, again, you're using like a chicken breast as an example. You know, chickens are selectively bred to have breasts that are many times larger than what would naturally occur, quote unquote, and that actually does cause them health problems. Like in these chicken farms, especially ones that use antibiotics, because it makes them grow super fast. But it causes them a lot of health problems. They get joint issues. A lot of them can't even move because they're in so much pain. Like again, you're not really understanding that there's an industry conflict here. That, okay, well, if we breed these animals that are super large and produce a ton of meat, which is good for industry, it's not good for these chickens. And
it is good for these chicken.
Well,
the more they produce meat, the more they will have babies.
Well, right, again, but you're kind of having a trade-off there of genetic success in a sense that, okay, well, they'll produce more offspring to life value, like, or quality of life, sorry.
Yeah, and there is a conflict of value there. And I'm not for like the purposeless suffering of chicken. Of course, for example, I buy eggs that are from chicken that are running free. If anything I can do in my behavior can improve the lives of chicken, I'm happy with it. But at the same time, I've seen chicken, they're not living miserable lives. They are doing good. They are not suffering constantly. And most importantly, the characteristics that they have today were bred into them or evolve, as I like to phrase it. They evolve for their own benefit. Because there were other chicken that had small breasts. These chicken are all dead. And they left no descent.
Okay, well, that's very odd of you to say because you were just talking about like a genetic genocide. Well, aren't you doing that same exact thing with selective breeding? Like you're causing a genetic genocide of animals that don't have a particular set of traits that you find valuable.
Oh, absolutely. Evolution is always a constant genocide of those life forms that don't produce enough babies or that are not viable in their environment. It's a sad thing if you think about it. Of course, yes, within the last 4 billion years, there's an almost infinity of living beings that are dead without leaving descent. It's sad to think about, certainly. It's certainly not a reason to kill all of them without letting any of them make babies.
Okay, well, I don't understand the value in that. Like, okay, so you're selectively breeding these animals, and you're ensuring that they're going to have a higher number of genetic diseases. You're killing, like, not only are you just genetically shortening their lifespan, but you're killing them before their life expectancy would even be up, which is against their own personal wishes because any sentient being wants to live the longest life possible. And you're claiming you're doing this to not commit some sort of genetic genocide when you're literally doing that constantly just by the nature of selective breeding. So I don't know how you can actually say there's any value in selective breeding if you're committing a genocide anyway.
So it depends on how you want to define genocide, because in humans, when you kill a bunch of humans and you're doing this for cutting their reproductive capabilities forever, that's what we call a genocide. Now, if we want to go on with the metaphor that I use, which is yes, it would be a chicken genocide. The fact that we killing is not the act that makes it a genocide, in my view. A genocide is the desire to eradicate a set of genes out of the planet.
Right.
And so the fact that we kill them, it's okay for me because they had the chance to reproduce, they had the chance to live a line of descent, and what we're merely doing is killing them before their meat become completely useless.
Okay, I think you misunderstood me, and you're not actually addressing a certain portion of my argument. You were saying that by not selectively breeding these chickens, you're committing some sort of genocide. Well, you
No,
are
that I
literally.
haven't said.
Did you not say you're committing a like sort of genetic genocide by not breeding chickens?
No, that's not what I said. What I did say is that if we were to turn all vegans, we would be committing the chicken genocide. That's the only context in which I use the word genocide. Now, I also pointed out to the fact that evolution itself is always a form of genocide. It's like the planet Earth constantly killing some weak life forms and letting those that are not weak survive. That is ongoing, but it's not what we do. It's just the reality of life. Not everyone can have babies. It's a sad reality, but it's not a reality that we cause.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you said not everyone can have babies, but it's not a reality we cause. Well, yeah, you're literally doing that by selective breeding.
Well, yeah, by selective breeding,
you're literally not allowing certain animals to breed, even though certain animals that have like bad quote unquote genetics for industry. So say the animal's smaller, doesn't have as much meat on its bones, but that might actually be genetically beneficial for the species because, say, it might have a longer life expectancy, less health problems, and say in a natural environment, quote unquote, it might actually be more successful at passing down its lineage, assuming there wasn't human intervention, preventing it from breeding. So, again, like, you're literally doing that.
Well, again, we're back to this argument, which is you seem to presume some other environment in which you define what is a healthy chicken. But the reality of chicken is that they live in our farm, they live in our economical system. That's the environment they evolved for. I see nothing wrong with the idea of having the best chicken for this environment.
Okay, like evolution suggests natural selection. Selective breeding, I don't know if that would actually technically fall under evolutionary adaptation.
Yeah, so I personally don't make the distinction. This is a thing that I should specify. I will here. I do not make the distinction between natural selection and artificial selection or selective breeding. To me, this is all nature playing out, and we are all part of nature. So when we do a choice, we are just the end. When we do a choice about which chicken we breed, we are simply part of the environment of chicken. The same way, if a meteorite was to crash with Earth, there would be certain life forms selected, other or not. It's the same thing we do when we intervene in chicken reproduction. We simply are the environment in which chicken live.
Okay, that's fine, but there's a few of your beliefs that directly contradict with each other. For one thing, you're talking about, okay, well, I'll just like recap this quickly, and then I think I'll just move on to a different kind of argument because we're kind of going in circles here. But you were talking about preserving genetic lineage, and then at the same time, you're talking about how we should selectively breed animals. Well, you're eliminating genetic lineage when you're selectively breeding animals. It's just you're choosing which genetic lineage you want. So that seems to be in direct contradiction. Like you're valuing genetic lineage, but at the same time, you're destroying it for the one you want. I see a bit of a contradiction there. Secondly, you're talking about how you are pro-animal welfare. You don't want animals to suffer, but you're also in favor of selectively breeding animals, which inevitably makes them suffer more than they would if they were just in a natural environment without humans selectively breeding them, where natural selection would just occur.
I think this second point is a misconception. I don't think that birds in the wild suffer less than farm animals. I would have to have a proof of that. I don't think there is any scientific evidence that points toward that. Life in the wild is freaking cruel. These animals will eventually die out of lacking food. That's the truth of wild animal life. And often that's something I throw to vegans. I'm like, by which standard do you conclude that the farm animals should be your focus when there is so much suffering in the jungle? Why shouldn't we, and why shouldn't we at some point even go into a hunt in the jungle and kill everything that lives so that they don't end up suffering the terrible life that it is to be a wild animal on Earth?
Okay, and I think that's a good segue into like my next argument, because you, like, as far as we're aware, we can make our own choices. Like, you don't believe in determinism, do you?
I do.
Oh, okay, you do? Well, okay, well, anyway.
But I do recognize that we have a brain, and the brain can select between actions.
Okay, well,
but
anyway.
that brain is deterministically controlled.
Okay, well, anyway, so you've made a lot of, like, I'm sure everyone's made a lot of mistakes in their life. But aren't you glad that you have the ability to actually choose and make mistakes, even though some of those mistakes may lead to increased suffering? Like, don't you value personal choice?
Yes, I value liberty as a human. The reason is probably that we evolved to not like the idea of having other humans control our behavior. However, I find that it would be morally presumptuous to presume that all life forms on Earth want liberty and prefer liberty to other things. And so I wouldn't have the moral presumption of thinking that chicken prefer liberty as opposed to, for example, safety, or for example, food, or for example, reproductive success.
Right. Like that's the opinion I have, and that's why I'm like an advocate of things like firearms rights, because even if you could make the argument that, okay, well, allowing people to own firearms would lead to greater firearms deaths, I'd rather have the freedom to have that choice of owning a firearm, protecting myself, even though that if it meant like I have a higher likelihood of getting shot. But I just value that personal choice. Now, with that in mind, don't you think it's immoral to like do this sort of thing to animals where we selectively breed them, take choice away from them, force them to live in a way that they might not necessarily want to live, or breed with certain other animals that they might not necessarily want to, or take all of these choices away from them?
I mean, the free chicken didn't work, if you will. The ancestors of chicken, whatever wild chicken we captured and made them into chicken.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know, but it didn't work as much as the chicken that chose a life of submission to humans. And as a biologist, the way I see it is that sometimes a life form will delegate part of its stuff to others. For example, we delegate the digestion of some food elements in our intestine to bacteria. And I'm fine with it. Just like I'm fine with the fact that chicken have delegated some of their reproductive choices and their life conditions and the construction of their shelters to humans. These chicken were successful, so I have no issue with it.
May I ask one question? It's very interesting and fascinating. There's one thing that you glossed over that I kind of want to just understand more. Jeff, you said at some point you'd love to go.
Look at that smile. Look at that smile on Andy's face.
You said that you'd be down for going into the jungle and killing everything.
No, I wouldn't be down. But I'm asking vegans, would they be down for that? And why do they focus on farm animals? Because they could save a lot of suffering if they were to just take an AR-15 and shoot random animals in the wild. You're going to end billions of years of suffering by stopping all animals from living on Earth. Why don't you suggest this? Why don't you do that?
Okay, well, I can answer that easily. Like, the same reason we don't just wipe ourselves out. I mean, we go through so much like suffering and death and trouble in our own species. Like, wiping our entire existence out would save a lot of suffering. But the thing is, we just want to live. That's probably just a biological instinct. I think all sentient beings just have that instinct of self-preservation. And, you know, we want to we just want to live in a world where we can make our own choices. and that like that's why it's wrong, I'd say, to eliminate the entire human species and eliminate all other animals just for the sake of reducing suffering. Like I wouldn't say just because suffering exists, life isn't worth living.
Yeah, well, this first part of your answer, it reveals that you value existence. And what I'm asking you is to have the empathy of transferring that desire for existence to the chicken. Picture yourself in the place of the chicken. The chicken species also wants to live, but the only way they can live is in our shelters. And if you value it for yourself, all I'm asking is please have the empathy for farm animals to offer them the same desire, the same consideration for their existence that you offer to humans.
Jeff, okay. I have a question actually. If I may, intervene. What about the difference?
But maybe he wants to answer.
Oh, sure. If you want to answer, then I have a question regarding what you just said. But if you want to go ahead, Vegan.
Yeah, sure. Okay, like let's say an alien species were to come to Earth. Yeah. The alien.
Vegan games.
No, that's interesting. That's my field. That is my field.
I love this. I love this.
This is getting interesting.
I was honestly hoping that it'd come to this.
There's a value. There is a value in these hypothetical questions.
Sure. Of course.
Okay, say if an alien species were to come to Earth and they were to domesticate us, so they'd choose who gets to breed, what sort of characteristics of like, you know, the human species is desirable. Okay, so like they want to use us for meat. So they get the people that have the most muscle mass, that are easy to fatten up, just the people that are most ideal for meat. And that would obviously cause us health problems. We'd have like diabetes, heart disease, increased risk of cancer. And not only do we have a lower quality of life, but they'll decide when you die. So say the ideal like death would be 30 years old. Would you be okay with living in a circumstance like that where they like every single choice is taken away from you and you're just totally subservient to these aliens and they've manipulated your genetics to be unhealthy? You're going to just live, not even live as long just due to your genetics, but they're also just going to kill you when you're 30. Like, is that sort of an existence you'd like?
The answer is there would probably be two parts of the population. One human population that would kind of accept or tolerate the fact that they're getting farmed. And maybe there would be a bunch of revolutionary with the AR-15s who would just fight the alien forces.
Well, I think that'd be everyone.
Of the AR-15 guys. And maybe in a million years, all of us would have died, and the only humans left would be those that are getting farmed by extraterrestrials. Well, if that were the case, I would not object to the existence of those farmed humans. They are the only one who survived, so be it. The revolutionaries died, let the farmed humans live.
Really? So, first of all, I don't even understand why you'd think that anyone would want to be like in captivity for their entire lives and be either forced to breed or forced not to breed, like every decision being like, what type of person would want that? I mean, like these animals that are in captivity, like they're just not intelligent enough to understand the situation they're in. But I mean, if they had the cognitive capacity of a human, they would understand. They wouldn't want to be in that position.
The answer is, in a million years, if the scenario of the farmed humans was to be pursued, in a million years, every human would be fine with it, because those who weren't fine would have been killed.
I have trouble believing that, because look at how many animals actually try to escape from captivity. It seems like it's just a natural instinct to want to have freedom.
And the animals of today, if they do that, they will probably die. At least here in Quebec, a chicken that escapes the farm, they will die.
Well,
Jeff, hey, you think that if, like in a million years, if the humans were born in captivity and farmed, that they would have evolved to just accept it? Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. We would lose all sorts of characteristics, including our desire for liberty. Our desire for liberty has evolved in our current state. It is there because we have other humans trying to compete with us reproductively. But if a life form was to undertake the genetic modification of human or the genetic selection of human, we would naturally converge toward a state of slave humans who would not have the emotions that we have and not have the egos that we have.
And is it ethical to actually do that?
I don't have a strong position on the ethics of it. I mean, we've been doing it essentially to dogs, chicken, cows. I don't have a strong moral opposition to doing that.
You don't see anything wrong with completely changing the genetics of a species to be completely subservient and accept their situation?
Absolutely not. Not in another species. And no, I don't mind that. I would mind if someone tries to intervene on my genes. If someone attacks me, I would mind.
Right. Well, then wouldn't you consider that immoral? Like, if you can see that you wouldn't want that personally, then wouldn't you also recognize, like, it's wrong to do that with other species because they wouldn't want that to happen to them?
No, not necessarily, because I do not extrapolate the desire of liberty and self-control that I have for myself to other life forms. Just like I don't extrapolate it to bacteria, I don't extrapolate it to dogs, neither to cows.
Okay, like, that's a little strange. I mean, there's plenty of videos where there's animals that are trying to escape captivity. I mean, there was one where a pig tried to jump off of a slaughter truck to just get away from that situation. There's been cows that have run away from whatever farm they were on. These animals want freedom. Why don't you why is there no value in their desire for freedom?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily interpret the escape of a truck as a desire for freedom, and I would doubt the level of intent. So do you claim that the pig understand that he's going to a slaughterhouse? Because you mentioned a slaughterhouse. Do you think that they understand where they headed?
Well, I think some of them might. Maybe not all of them, but I do know in some situations there definitely would be animals who would try to escape because of a realization that they're about to be killed.
I think that you are doing an attribution of intent that is impossibly supported by any evidence there.
Well, no, not really. I mean, they intentionally design these kill floors in a twisty, windy way so that cows can't actually see, or like any animal can't actually see what's coming. Like, especially with big animals like cows or even pigs, they can be pretty huge and hard to deal with. If they see like danger ahead, they're not going to want to like keep going. So,
Richard, is there a difference between being on a car and seeing a road and seeing an actual animal getting killed in front of you?
Well, yeah,
right?
there definitely is a difference.
But also on your side too, animals would, like, if you had a cage with a chicken inside and you open the cage, wouldn't the chicken escape and run away? Maybe not knowing it's going to be killed, but maybe it just senses
just a natural fear instinct,
the danger, and it's like, I have to get the fuck out of here. I want to be free.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of situations where, like, a normal person is in where there isn't any obvious evidence of danger, but you can actually just have some weird feeling of danger. I mean, I'm sure animals have some sort of sense of that. The point. I would agree with.
Go ahead.
Like, the point being is, I don't understand why you're putting absolute ultimate value on just ensuring some kind of genetic lineage exists and not considering whether, like, what these animals actually want.
I place value on this because I love life. I find this beautiful, this existence on Earth, the fact that this planet is covered with life. Everything you see around you has been done by a life form or modified by a life form in some way. I have admiration for this process. I don't want to end it.
Hey, I have some good questions I've been collecting the entire time. Very fucking interesting conversation. I've never heard JF's argument. Have you talked to someone before, Richard, like a JF, who's using this as as his main argument?
Sort of
morality,
like,
right?
well, yeah, I kind of have sort of. There's been some animal activist events I've gone to where I end up talking to random people on the street, and they've brought up a version of this point that just isn't quite as fleshed out and well thought out. Like they basically told me, well, we should keep killing chickens because if we didn't, then they wouldn't exist anymore. But then when I bring up like obvious points, well, would you want to be killed? Like, do you think it's okay to do that to humans? Like, they'd say no, and then that would kind of be it. But like the thing with JF is there's like obvious contradictions in his argument that he isn't really accepting, and he's just arbitrarily putting value on odd things too. So
interesting. Is this the I want to ask you, is this probably like the hardest debate you've been in?
No. I put it kind of on the same level as Destiny. Like with Destiny, I kind of had slightly more difficult time just because I wasn't used to dealing with that argument, but I just had to think about it for a while longer.
Yeah, I'm sure he was just fucking changing his goalpost every 5 seconds, eh?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar argument to Destiny. I mean, he's just instead of putting arbitrary value on social contract, he's just putting arbitrary value on genetic lineage. But then you get to obvious contradictions where he says he's pro animal welfare, but at the same time, just selectively breeding animals is anti-animal welfare. And like he's against destroying genetic lineages. Well, you're doing that literally every single time when you're selectively breeding. So I don't know what your problem would be with just not breeding and killing animals anymore.
So
I want to be.
I want to just answer to 2 comments. The first is the question of the arbitrariness of my system of value. Yes, right. We all have arbitrary axioms that we start from. Okay.
No, I wouldn't say.
You do, because you use the words conscious creatures, and that's your categorization. That's what you care for. Consciousness, life duration, and the act of killing are what you find important. Here's why I don't find the act of killing important, because there are some life forms that succeed at accomplishing all they have to do on Earth for the survival of their line of descent before they are killed. That's the case for chicken.
Is it okay for me to kill a father after he has a kid?
Well, if he has finished all that he wanted to do as a father and as a grandfather, and he says, yes, I'm done on this earth, I would say, no, it's not morally wrong to kill someone who asks for it and who says, I'm done, I don't want to suffer the end of my life.
Okay, so
I've done everything I had to do as a grandfather. Go for it.
That's an interesting point, because cows generally stay with their parents for quite a long time. But in the industry, they're pretty much immediately ripped away from their parents. So are you against that practice?
Absolutely. I am for developing practice that make animals experience within farms the best possible experience that we can create, including parental relationship when possible and if feasible. Absolutely.
If feasible. Okay, well, what if it wasn't economically feasible, but it's immoral? Would you be pro-economics or against that sort of practice?
Well, there's gonna be a point at which it's impossible, and so if it's impossible, then I'm for finding the way in which it can be done. But of course, I'm for a public discourse that will encourage farmers to develop the best practice possible. But I'm not for eliminating cows just because I'm not satisfied with the state of possibility that is currently available. I'm for maintaining cow lines at almost all cost.
Well, do you know that the dairy industry in Canada is being just held afloat by what is it? Just government grants, like just social assistance
Absolutely.
From the government?
Yeah, it's essentially a socially controlled system, the system of farm, especially in Quebec and especially for milk.
So you're against dairy farming?
No, I'm not against dairy farming. I would be against.
It's not economically viable without any kind of social assistance.
Well, if you go to the US, a capitalist system can sustain milk production.
Well, again, that is heavily subsidized.
Well, yeah, but it's possible in principle. The fact that people decide to subsidize milk, by the way, I'm a libertarian, so I'm not for subsidies.
Right.
But yeah, I'm totally for not helping these companies, but letting them exist.
Okay, well, here's another problem. There's many reasons why cow's milk is not good for humans to drink. For one thing, it's very high in leucine, isoleucine, valine. These are amino acids that raise IGF-1 levels. IGF-1 levels increase risk of cancer. Cow's milk is also very high in estrogen. Estrogen is actually pretty high in all mammalian milk because it's necessary to fuse calcium to bone. And for a growing infant, it's important to get estrogen just to be able to have grown both bone growth. I think I mixed those letters up. But for if you're going to ingest exogenous estrogen as a fully adult human, that greatly increases your risk of certain forms of cancer, especially for women who have like more estrogen receptors. So it increases hormone-related cancer risk. IGF-1 increases risk of almost all cancers. The galactose in milk, which is a type of sugar in milk, it actually interferes with bone-making cells, and it accelerates aging. There's been quite a lot of animal studies that have shown this, and in women in particular, it increases risk of bone fractures. That was a recent study, I think, out of Sweden. So in light of this, and I'm sure there's also just other kind of logical reasons why people are going away from drinking cow's milk. Like people are starting to realize like it's kind of weird to drink the milk of another species. And people are starting to drink more plant-based milk. So like soy milk is a big one. And soy milk actually has benefits. It has phytoestrogens, which actually fight against cancer. It's just a healthier milk. So there's going to be industry, like there's going to be competing industries against the dairy industry, and it could completely wipe out the dairy industry. So would you be in favor of just arbitrarily breeding and murdering animals just to continue their genetic lineage, even though it's not at all profitable?
No, I wouldn't engage in what we could call post-market maintenance of these lines. I believe that there's something beautiful that in the fact that these lines exist and that they found a function in the ecosystem of humans. I'm not for artificially, or if you will, at a cost. I'm not for at a cost pursuing the existence of chicken and
okay, so
pigs.
You're in favor of committing genocide if it's not profitable?
Yes, I'm fine with the death of these chicken. Not if it's not profitable, but if it's not maintainable in a way that is natural and in a way that is libertarian. No, it's not profitable because
that's exactly what it is. That's the only reason people are doing that. It's not reduced
to profitable. It is profitable, yes, but the farm industry is an ecosystem. It works at the interest of the farmer, but also at the interest of the clients and at the interest of the chicken themselves. If this system cannot sustain itself, just like some birds are too, they don't tolerate cold enough and they end up dying, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with evolution.
Okay, you're confusing me a bit here. Let me just make a hypothetical just so I can try to understand your argument. Let's say everyone starts just drinking soy milk, almond milk, hemp milk. Nobody drinks any kind of dairy milk, and nobody wants even other dairy products like cheese. Like people just don't want it. There's no market demand. So you would be in favor of stopping all dairy production because there's no market demand?
Absolutely. I'm not for...
Okay, so then you are in favor of committing genocide if it's not profitable?
Yeah, I'm fine with genocide of that kind, but that's what I call evolution. And I will point out, you will have soy plants all over the planet once this happens, and I'll be happy for the soy plants.
Okay, so if... This is getting really weird. So genocide is okay. No, genocide is okay if it's profitable. Or no, sorry. Murder is okay if it's profitable and you keep breeding. I'll use the word murder. But then genocide becomes acceptable if you can't make money off of it.
It's not if you can't make money. It's if the existence of these chickens cannot maintain itself in the environment, I understand that the planet will kill them and that there's nothing I can do with it.
You're changing the meaning of words around just so like you can use these weird euphemisms. It's so like completely like ending the breeding of animals. You call that genocide. If we just stopped because of like ethical beliefs, that's genocide. But if we stop doing it because it wasn't profitable for an industry, that's now no longer a genocide. That's just an evolution. Well, like, why is it evolution to you if we stopped breeding animals because it's not profitable anymore, because there's just no industry demand. But it isn't evolution if humans just have a change in consciousness or ideals.
Well, here's why it is evolution, because in the second case, you did the alternative of soy plant. That's where I call it evolution. Because
anyway.
You remember when I said that there was, I used the word evolutionary choice, I withdrew it, but there were chicken that were capturable by humans, and there were chicken that were not. And I said the chicken that were captured by humans, they're the one who succeeded at living decent. Well, the same is true for the split that has occurred between the ancestor that is shared by soy plants and chicken. All right. At some point, there was some bacteria or some single cell organism. One of them has specialized into leading the entire set of plants that you see today on Earth. And one of them has led to the entire set of animals that you see today on Earth. If it was the case that some people would choose not to eat chicken or not to drink milk and go for soy instead, what would have happened here is a selective process. The reality that soy is more viable as a life form than chicken, and I would be fine with it. I'm just not fine advocating for stopping the existence of chicken just because you don't like the fact that they are suffering, because it is the right of a life form to have suffering and to use that suffering to lead its existence and to maintain its existence. Just like humans are entitled to have brains that suffer so that they can make the right choice to make babies, I say that chicken can suffer if that allows them to make babies, and that I will not intervene with it. If it happens, it happens. That's nature.
Oh, okay, like you're kind of changing the goalposts a bit here. So, how is it any, like, this would be the exact same, like the result would be exactly the same. So if we were to stop, like just kill off the dairy industry because people just don't want to drink milk and eat cheese just because health reasons, okay, well, we'd end up relying more on soy for soy milk than we would for cow's milk. Well, if we were to have like a sort of a change of mind, like our ethics would change or our moral outlook would change, like the exact same thing would happen. Okay, well, we can't use cow's milk anymore. I guess we can use soy milk. Like, it's the same end goal. So I don't understand how you're making a distinction there. And wouldn't that also be evolution? Like, I don't understand. I'm not making
a distinction. I was explaining why I use the word evolution, comparative evolution, and the fact that yes, soy would rise and cows would go down. I'm saying I don't have any interest in allowing soy to live instead of cows right now. So I wouldn't argue for veganism, and I like meat. So I'm fine with it. I'm fine with the fact that the cows have won over the soy for now.
Maybe let's say one thing. The word soy, I'd avoid it. The chat gets very triggered.
Well, it's fun to trigger the chat.
Okay, you know what? I just want to say, Paul Joseph Watson is a fucking pussy. After I called him out, he started backtracking and on the whole soy boy thing, and he was saying, "Oh, I was just joking to trigger everybody." You're a fucking pussy.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, totally. He on Twitter, he started acting as if he said that he made that whole soy video as like a troll video just to like anger people, and he didn't actually believe what he said. Really? So he's a fucking pussy. He won't debate me. He changed everything around so he wouldn't have to have a debate. He's a bitch.
I don't know. We have 4,700 people here watching. We're number 9 trending right now. I don't know. Maybe we'll tweet him out and go, "Hey man, come on, stop hiding, Paul Joseph Watson. Come on, the games is here."
I can't ask yourself a soy boy, and as far as I'm concerned, it was just a joke. It was just to tickle him a little bit.
I didn't see that video actually. I didn't see that video, so that's where it's from. Is that where that?
My argument?
From? No, the meme, the soy boy thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh no, not from mine. It's from Paul Joseph Watson, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we have some good questions here. Very fucking interesting stuff. I know like you guys want to keep going back and forth on the same point. I get it, because you don't like you understand each other, but you feel Richard as if he may be changing his goalpost.
Well, Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of done that a few times throughout the debate. Like, yeah, like at first he was kind of using the wording that it's as if these animals chose to be in captivity consciously when that wasn't the case. And then I called him out on it. And then he kind of made a different, he made up a different sort of circumstance where this is just a natural evolution of things where, okay, well, this genetic lineage led to some sort of symbiotic relationship with humans, and it's not necessarily a good thing to destroy that. And then, like, after I pointed out that, okay, well, if there's some sort of industry shift to just not wanting a certain animal product, and then that, like, that industry isn't profitable anymore, then instead of calling that a genocide, he made a different term for it. So yeah, I don't think he's being totally consistent on his beliefs.
So I will point for the audience that changing semantics as part of a debate tactic that simply facilitates the advancement of the discourse is not backtracking. I can backtrack on words. I don't backtrack on ideas. I've been consistent with my ideas. I've been presenting them. People can look at the debate back. I am all for backtracking on words because I think sometimes people get hung up on it, and that's not what's important here.
Right. Okay. I just disagree with that. I think you actually changed your kind of arguments around, and you moved some goalposts around, but whatever.
All right, so we got some. Okay, you both will disagree on that. Audience will make a decision on that. People seem to be really enjoying this, but got some good questions here. We'll try and do quick answers for them. Thank you for everyone, and if you're enjoying the debate, hit like. It helps support the channel, and thank you for everyone for joining us. OV Warrior, $5. Would Vegan Gains like to set all cows free in a forest? What do we do with domestic farm animals? Kill them all? They clearly can't survive in the wild.
Okay, well, that's kind of a weird argument. Like, it's coming from the idea that, okay, everyone's going to go vegan the same day, and then what are we going to do with all these cows? That's just not a situation that's going to happen. So like the industry is just going to slowly die off. Eventually it's just going to shrink. And then with the cows that are left, I'd say you could put them in sanctuaries, like maybe a zoo environment kind of thing would be okay. But I'm not in favor of like breeding these cows just for the sake of like entertainment. Like I just call that like zoos, prisons, but that's like a more realistic scenario.
All right. Insufferable Earth, $5. Thank you very much. Vegan Gains. If humans go to a plant-based diet, animals will become competition for food. Can we eat the carcass of our competitors to gain their power?
That's
put in some fun
weird wording.
I put in some fun ones in there. Right? There's some Aaron Richards, $5. Vegan Gains. Why were you dumpster diving for vegan food? Wouldn't it be more ethical to dive for non-vegan food so that animals didn't die in vain?
I like, not really, not in my opinion. Like, I don't think I should be compelled to eat something that would make me sick or less healthy. So like if I want to eat certain foods, then I'll eat certain foods.
All right. Mario Pissed Off, $10. Thank you very much. Say 10 Hail Dairies for the Queen Chicken. So I just found that funny because you were talking about the Queen Chicken for a while, JF. Yeah. Evan West, $20. I just don't understand why humans wouldn't eat animals. Other animals at the top of their food chain eat animals below them. Why wouldn't we? It makes zero sense.
Well, it's just a matter of cognitive capacity and moral agency. And like, well, that would actually, and what I was about to say would involve cognitive capacity, but we're at a point technologically where we just don't need to kill and eat animals, and we have moral agency. We can recognize these animals are sentient, have a will to live, similar to us. So we should extend the right to life to these animals.
Cool. And actually, this was one I saw a lot of people were talking about. Namfu, $5. As a candid biologist, I have to correct Vegan Gains. Wild wolves live much shorter lives than dogs. And then I was searching on this while you were all talking, and the average in the wild for wolves is between 6 and 8 years.
Well,
And
no, I actually brought that
and
up.
some can reach 13 years, and then wolves in captivity live an average 17 years.
Yeah, well, no, I actually, I kind of corrected myself. I
Cool.
said the caveat that they have a longer genetic lifespan. Like if they weren't killed off in the wild somehow, like they got injured or something, they can live longer than a domesticated dog, but they typically do live shorter lives in the wild just because it's a harder type of life.
All right, cool. And Jeremiah B threw in $5 saying the exact same thing. Thank you very much, Jeremiah. Gabriel Lopez threw $50. Holy shit. Thanks, brother. You fucking always support the show. You're awesome. I'd like to know Vegan Gain's opinion on the health risks of veganism. For adults, it requires careful planning and supplements to not be deficient on something. But specifically for babies raised by vegans, they risk more serious and permanent issues. I think when we had our debate, me, you, and Chris, and I think Ask Yourself, I told you I was vegan for what, like 6-7 months, and my hair started falling out and I felt a lot weaker, even though I was taking B supplements. I was actually getting help from Vegan Revolution for what I was purchasing. And while I liked being vegan for about 4 months, everything just started falling off for me. So yeah, how the health risks. Gabriel
Health risks. Okay, well, for adults, there aren't really too many. B12 is one of the bigger ones, but a recent study out of Switzerland found that vegans aren't at any higher risk of B12 deficiency because of widespread use of supplementation. So if you're going to be vegan, you should take a B12 supplement. That avoids that issue. Like a lot of people bring up iron as a risk, which it's not. Vegans have the same risk of iron deficiency as meat eaters. What I have found consistent, though, is zinc. Zinc is less bioavailable in plant products than it is in meat. So that is something you might want to keep an eye on, especially if you're a man, because when you ejaculate, you actually lose zinc. So I'd say zinc is one of the bigger ones. And if you're eating a very clean whole foods diet, you also might want to keep track of your iodine, because most people get iodine either from dairy. One of the cleaning chemicals they use in the dairy industry to clean out those like dairy vats, it's very high in iodine, and then it ends up leaking into like milk. So that's a huge source of iodine, and iodized salt. But if you're eating a very clean diet, you generally don't eat any table salt. So iodine and zinc and B12 are probably the things you want to keep an eye on. As for infants or like women who are pregnant, like vegan women actually tend to have healthier children. When you eat meat, you have a much higher risk of your child there's a much higher risk of both the mother and the child of developing diabetes. And vegans also have a lower intake of heavy metals like mercury, cadmium. So chances are, if you're vegan, you're going to have a healthier baby. But again, make sure you have like your B vitamins. That's a big one, especially for men, zinc. And there's not really too much to worry about other than like the zinc, B12 and iodine.
Cool. And this was actually for JF, Beaner 1066, 10 pounds. Thank you very much. JF, the point of veganism is to maintain a natural life cycle. Being in captivity, artificially altered to the point of harm, is unnecessary. A cruelty is irrelevant when it is the natural order.
Yeah, I mean, I don't distinguish between artificial and natural. I mean, by that criteria, current human beings are living in an artificial environment, and we should stop that. And secondly, I do not believe that the quality of life of farm animals is as bad as is made in this post. I think that the quality of life of wild animals, as vegans was mentioning earlier, they die earlier, and there's a reason for it. It's that life in the wild is rough. So if you're about the natural, if you're about the non-human intervention, you may be actually condemning animals to a worse life.
Okay, well, I actually have something to say about that. I could take away your right to freedom, and I could make every decision for you. I could make you get up in the morning at 8 o'clock and run around the block. I could make you eat like tofu and oatmeal and lentils all day, and you'd be the healthiest motherfucker ever. But that's a choice I'm making for you, and you wouldn't appreciate that choice. So I'd say personal choice comes before reducing suffering.
Yeah,
That
and
would
I
be
agree
my
with you
argument.
in humans, but that's because we evolved to be that way. We evolved to like liberty because if we were giving our liberties to other humans, they were impeding on our reproduction. As it turns out, there are life forms that have found a way in not having liberty, but having reproductive success. And I'm for respecting this lifestyle.
Okay, well, again, that's just us forcing like our not even needs anymore. That's just imposing our will on these animals. Like that's just another one of those topics of contention that we had in the debate.
Yeah.
But whatever. Like
we have a good question here. This is from Guardian. What's up, buddy? Can you ask this question for me to JF? Would JF be fine for vegans changing the market that will end the genetic line of farm species as long as they are advocating for an alternative for an alternative is evaluation? I think he means an alternative
life form.
Yeah, like way of keeping it going, but the exclusion of an industry that leads to the exact same outcome is genocide or evolution.
No.
Sorry, he fucked up his sentence, but yeah,
I get the question. Basically, he's pointing out, he's pointing to what Richard has been characterizing as a contradiction in my system of belief. It was not a contradiction in my system of belief. It may be a contradiction that you guys have perceived in my words. And so I want to say, when I use genocide, all I want to use the term for is not like it's this morally wrong thing that we should all oppose to. All I'm pointing to is the fact that veganism leads to non-existence of cows and chickens. The more you have vegans in society, the less cows and chickens you have. That is just what I mean by genocide. I don't mean it is a genocide, therefore it is wrong. So that's a subtlety of my system of belief that you need to understand. It's that genocide is not necessarily wrong. The reason I like cows and chicken existing is that I have admiration for these life forms. I am a biologist. I look at life forms on Earth, and I don't want them to disappear. I respect their technique to survive. I'm not saying it is a genocide, therefore it's wrong. That would be a mischaracterization of my argument. My argument is, let us respect the way these farm animals have found to live by recruiting humans and using them in ways that no other life form on Earth has used us. I mean, they get us to handle their eggs and handle their reproduction. We are their employees, basically, from an evolutionary perspective.
Actually, regarding that, this is a question for Vegan Gains from Guardian as well. What do you think about legal trophy hunting and how it has actually saved the elephant and lion species in African countries? And I mean, he linked me a National Geographic article here. I could throw it in the chat for you.
I know of that. You know. So basically,
yep.
They created these artificial hunting grounds where rich people can pay like $100,000 to hunt an elephant, and then that goes to protecting wild elephants. I don't know, like maybe I could call that a necessary evil at best. But, you know, it's not the ideal moral situation, but I mean, it's sort of a Band-Aid fix for a bigger problem. I don't think it's right to pay to kill like a sentient being to save other sentient beings when we could just do the sensible thing and just protect wildlife. But I mean, like at best, I just call that a necessary evil. It's sort of like a quick sort of Band-Aid fix for a bigger problem.
And also Futternut just threw in $20 now. Thank you very much. I'm checking out all the DMs right now. He DM'd but also donated $20. Thank you very much, Futternut. He says, because he was donating money for shits and giggles questions, but he goes, for real, there are many vegan supplements that are created from insect protein and vitamins. At what point are insects lesser in the moral reality than mammals? And should we stop digesting grasshopper byproducts?
Okay, I don't know what supplements are created using insects. Like I know B12, that's just produced artificially. Like the algae based DHA supplement I take, that's like produced with algae. That's not like an insect. And what vitamin D, you can basically make it from fungus, a type of fungus. So I don't know what supplements you're talking about that are made out of insects. We do.
Not, if you want, you could DM me and you could give me a link or something, and I'll throw it to a Richard if you want.
Yeah, but we do kill insects all the time in agriculture. Tremendous amount of insects die. How is that morally justified? Well, it's just a necessary process of farming right now and feeding like 7 billion people. I'm against killing when it's unnecessary, but I would consider like the killing of insects in agriculture a necessary thing. If there were a way to like use some sort of technology where we don't have to do that, then I'd be all for it. Like, I think it's good to reduce the suffering and death you cause, even if it's only insects you're harming. But yeah, I just say it's a necessary fact of the industry.
And a question that I have for you, JF, you were talking about how farming is important to keep the existence of chickens and that I'll go and by the way, Ranting Monkey, thank you for the $5 and saying how many chickens has JF spoke to understand what they're thinking.
Well, I've killed many chicken, I have to say. So some people argue against veganism and they have never operated a farm. I've been killing many animals in my life. I've been friend with many animals in my life. I have the highest respect for animals.
Do you think that because you're saying the farming thing, do you think that the unnecessary cruelty of factory farming could be reduced, and should we reduce it? And is it more moral, or do you not care? Because there's a difference between like, let's say like a farm that, you know, like Whole Foods, for example, their welfare rating system, where they have a higher rating system, and these cows have to be outside a certain amount of time. They have to be, you know what I mean? So as opposed to the ones that are in cages and just stuck near each other, etc., etc.
I do care to a certain extent, but I don't care to the extent of catastrophism. I believe that a lot of what happens in farm is being misrepresented. Animals' lives in farm are worth living. These animals have moments of suffering and moments of happiness. And I'm totally for the improvement and all the conditions that you talked about. Oh, totally. I would like these chickens to have some space of freedom and to be freely running, either in a shed or outside sometimes. I'm totally for trying to maximize these standards, but I'm not for the misrepresentation of what is currently happening in farms, because anyone who goes in a farm and anyone who goes in centers where we work with animals, I've been working with monkeys for 5 years. These people care about these animals. Farmers cares about animal. I cared about my monkeys, and we are often misrepresented, those people who work with animals or who work in the animal industry, as not being sensitive to animal suffering. That's absolutely untrue.
Okay, I totally disagree with you there. I think it's an exception rather than the rule that these animals are actually well treated. But anyway, I wanted to bring up a point. Now, you were talking about how you're against unnecessary animal cruelty or like excessive cruelty in the industry. Now, like I brought up the cow example, like cows would normally spend a very long period of time with their family, like after they're born up until adulthood. But in industry, like they're torn away from each other pretty much almost at birth, and you're against that sort of thing. Well, if that were what sort of humane practices would you want to implement there? Because these humane practices aren't being used because it's so costly to the industry. And if it's so costly to the industry, like, would you be in favor of creating like a really high standard of animal welfare and farming But if those standards were met, it would mean economic collapse of the industry. It just wouldn't be profitable. Like, what would you value more in that situation? Your ethical principles to not cause harm to these animals, or your, for whatever desire to continue the existence of these species?
Well, my priority would be continuing the existence of these species, because I don't want to be morally presumptuous about these species, and I don't want to assume that they want to die and that they don't want to live decent. So I would find a solution within the realm where these species continue to flourish and to exist in our farms. Within that realm, and as my first axiom, I would maximize what we can do within real limits to improve as much as we can within that axioms. Of course, I would not question that axiom for a desire for quality of life or for my perception of their suffering. I believe that life forms have the right to exist before they have the right to be perceived as too suffering for existing.
Okay, that seems like a contradiction to me, because you're basically appealing more for you're removing sort of the rights of the individual in favor of the desire of a group. Like, an individual chicken might want the desire to live. It doesn't want to be killed. But because you assume the chickens as a whole want to reproduce and exist, you're taking away the individual right of that one chicken. That's okay for you?
I don't attribute rights to chicken, because to attribute rights, you would have to essentially extrapolate your own desire for liberty to them. I do not do that. I simply assume that the things that live want to live and want to reproduce.
Okay, well, I don't understand that, because you're against cruelty for, like, the reason that you don't want to be treated that way. Like, you're against suffering for that reason, but you're in favor of killing an individual chicken because chickens as a species want to continue existing, and that's really just your assumption.
Well, I will clarify some things here. First, killing is not suffering. Killing is a different thing than suffering. Killing is a severe impediment on your liberty if you're a human, but it is not suffering. What?
Well, it's infringing on an individual animal's liberty as well.
Well, if you do attribute liberty to animals, I don't.
Okay, but I don't understand why you wouldn't. Like, why is there a separation between suffering and killing? Like, why do you make a distinction there?
There's a distinction because suffering is a state that you can only experience before you're dead. At the moment of killing, you are dead, so you don't feel anything anymore.
Right, but I mean, you don't want to suffer and you don't want to die. You wouldn't want somebody to take away, like, you wouldn't want somebody to make you suffer, and you wouldn't want somebody to kill you. Well,
Absolutely.
you don't want an animal to suffer for the same reason you don't want to suffer. So I don't understand why you wouldn't also grant a life to an animal.
Well, if you were that's actually a mischaracterization of my position, because I actually prioritize the existence of my children to my own suffering. So if you were to tell me, JF, choose between suffering a lot and having babies, and not suffering a lot and not having babies, I would choose to suffer for my babies to exist.
Right. Okay. Well, that's sort of a personal priority. But that's again, that's a decision you're making for the chicken. That's not something the chicken is making a conscious decision towards.
Well, what we know of how evolution works and of how animals survive, it is systematically by being driven toward, and we know that evolution drives genes toward the desire to live and the desire to reproduce. We know that this is a common aspect of all life forms, and that all life forms that will ever exist in the observable universe want to live and want to reproduce.
Like, honestly, this whole argument you're making, it sounds like a very complicated way of just saying, this is the way things are, so I'm just gonna keep supporting this thing. I mean, you could have made
That's not what it is. Do you understand that do you understand that it is natural for life forms to converge toward more reproduction and more survival and more efficient reproduction?
I really don't care about nature. Like, if you're gonna make nature Like, if you're going to say what's natural is ethical, well, you could say the same thing for black slaves. I mean, black slaves were actually selectively bred. Slaves were forced to breed with each other to make like better slaves. Like, are you saying slavery was morally acceptable? Because, well, you know, like black people, they were just part of the human evolution experience and they were living in an ecosystem. Like, are you saying slavery is acceptable because you could just say that's natural?
I have a subtle view on slavery. I don't advocate for slavery today. I'm not super morally offended by the fact that it existed. I see slavery as a deal that has occurred. Of course, there were slaves that were victim of crimes that I would condone totally, but there's also the reality that Black people of Africa have found a way to get a free ride to America, and that today their descendants flourish in America. And that is, to me, that's what I referred to earlier as an evolutionary choice. It may not be a choice they made consciously, but they have access to America in a way that other people did not.
Well, sorry, that just wasn't a choice. They didn't choose to be slaves. It's just a circumstance that happened that maybe might have been beneficial for Black people as a whole, that they ended up going to America, living in a civilized society, and eventually getting freedom. But that wasn't a choice they made. So you're either against slavery or you're not. Like, I don't...
No, you can have subtle views of reality. You can understand that reality puts axioms of morality at head to head with each other, and that there are conflicts. But the reality is that today, people like you may not exist if slavery hadn't existed. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Like,
but do you think it was immoral? Do you think it was immoral, Jeff?
Well, no.
But immoral, I don't even believe in objective morality. So if you ask me, am I okay with Black people existing today in America? Yeah, I'm fine. I admire them. I like them. And the reality is that if slavery did not exist, they wouldn't be there.
Okay, this is why I think your argument amounts to, it's happening already, so whatever. Like that's what I'm getting from this argument, because you will say something like, well, slavery wasn't immoral, it's something that just happened. But then when if I were to ask you right now, do you think it is morally wrong to enslave Black people? You'll either say no, or you'll come up with some weird kind of diversionary excuse for why you wouldn't support it. Like, you either think slavery is immoral, or you think it is acceptable. Like, you can't just say, well, it happened then, so it wasn't immoral then, so like whatever. Like, it's the same kind of argument you're making for the animal agriculture industry. You're basically saying it's happening now, so it's moral. If it doesn't happen in the future, then, you know, that's just the way things are.
But that's not the argument I'm making. I'm not saying it was moral at the time. Yeah, go ahead.
How about like Mayans who used to sacrifice people? It happened then, and they believed in that. Is that okay? Because it happened then?
I'm not approving anything morally and disapproving. I'm telling you, I have preferences, okay? And these preferences, they act out as I live into the world. I wasn't there when slavery occurred, so I couldn't intervene. What would have been my reaction? It would probably be the same that I did when you presented the fictive alien case. I probably would have been for liberty at the time. But the reality is that some humans ended up being in a situation, and you're right, it was not a choice, at least not in all cases. And so I withdraw the word choice, just like I did in the previous case. It doesn't matter. Some humans found themselves in a situation where they found a way to live, to survive, and to reproduce, and to access America. And today it leads to what we are. Just like the Mayan example you give, it led to the death of certain people. Were these people doing anything wrong? Maybe yes, maybe not.
How about this then?
We have kept improving ourselves that way, Warski. We kept killing people in Europe because we thought they were murderers. And many of them were not murderers, but we did it.
Jeff, there is a difference between, there's this joke from Louis C.K. who said it was no, but maybe. Like, that was his joke. And the idea was, of course slavery was bad. Of course it was bad. but maybe we needed it to build society. And it's like,
Right.
of course, slavery, created pyramids, created civilizations, created this and that. But we could look at it now and go, yeah, it was fucked up. That's all I'm asking you. I'm not asking you, was it necessary? What I'm asking you is it fucked up?
First, I didn't say it's necessary. I said some black people benefited from this opportunity. And today, there are millions of people who exist today because of that. Okay, that's all I said. And I already said it's fucked up, and I already say I'm for liberty.
Cool. All right, fair enough. Okay,
I've been clear about it.
I was just trying to clarify. I was just because there are societies that needed slaves to build all that fucking crazy shit, but now we could look at it and go, yeah, we wouldn't do that now. And there are still, like, what do you think about, like child slaves, basically, who are digging shit up to make cell phones and stuff like that, like right now?
And the same is true for all sorts of suffering that have occurred.
It's not only blacks, by the way. There's like,
there is not a human being currently alive on Earth who is not the descendant of a rapist. So currently, every single human being on Earth, even if you argue against rape, the reality is you wouldn't exist if it wasn't of rape. So I'm sorry, that's reality. I just stated it. And I don't have any problem acknowledging it and embracing, in fact, the complexity of the world and the fact that even if the world is sometimes very disgusting, it is the way it is. And we are today alive because of it.
Well, I can understand that, but this is where I think that your argument amounts to, this is the way it is, so I don't care. Like, you're claiming that it's okay to force animals into this means of existence where you selectively breed them, you choose which offspring you think is ideal, and then you kill them, and that's their means of existing. Well, if we were to do that with black people, which we were doing not too long ago, we were actually selectively breeding black people, you'd say that's immoral if we were to start doing that again. So, but you don't use that same argument. But
you guys are constructing phrases. I didn't say it would be immoral today. I say today I would prefer no invasion of liberty of people based on their skin color.
Right, but why?
That's my preference today.
After you clarified for me, I understood. I'm like, yeah, we're on the same page. I misunderstood, but
no.
Do you have a problem with that still?
But why is that your preference?
It's for the same reason that why is that my preference? It's my preference probably because of my line of ancestry leading to behaviors that are consistent with liberty. I probably, just like many human beings on this earth, evolved to like liberty because there were lots of human beings around us who were trying to control our liberty. And what made us live on this world is our desire not to be controlled by others. But I'm not morally inconsistent because when you presented the alien case, I said, yes, it can happen that some humans could decide or actually just be farmed. And if that were the case, and if they were the only descendants, so be it.
Right,
I wouldn't choose it. I said I would be on the side of the revolutionaries, as I always am, but maybe I would be dead, and maybe I would be proven wrong within the next million years.
Well, no. What do you mean proven wrong? Like, it doesn't matter.
Proven wrong in the sense that all of my babies would be dead, and that the only humans who would survive were those who chose submission.
Okay, so morality basically boils down to whether or not you can continue your genetic existence.
Morality boils down to nothing. Morality is a pile of crap. It's a term invented by humans to produce construct to control other people's behavior. I told you I was a moral nihilist at the beginning. I won't change my view here.
Okay, listen. If the aliens were to come to Earth and their technology was so fucking far ahead of ours that it was literally like magic to us, there was no fucking way in hell we could ever resist them. And if you chose to resist, they'd kill you. And if you just accepted to go and be their slaves, you'd exist. Would you choose to be their slave and everything?
Of course, I can say if If it happened, maybe I would change. But my view right now, I would probably be on the revolutionary side. I have no problem choosing death against an invading life form. Fuck these aliens. Fuck them.
Okay. Okay, great. So that would be your personal choice, but you're taking that choice away from the animals you kill, and you have no problem with that.
Yeah, because I do not attribute the concept of liberties that we attribute ourselves as human to animals.
Well,
because I believe that there are life forms that can evolve away from wanting liberty.
Well, like it obviously animals don't want to be in captivity. So, like, are you saying it's wrong to hunt animals?
You're obviously that's where I disagree. I don't think there's that much evidence that animals don't want to live in captivity.
Okay, so are you against hunting?
Am I against hunting? I am against certain forms of hunting. If you're doing sports hunting and you're destroying life for no purpose at all, I guess I would simply say I'm kind of disgusted by this. I'm kind of sad that a deer would die. That being said, I'm not. I think that hunting is part of the natural behavior of human, and I'm not against people who hunt and who maximize the use of the meat at the end. And also, I'm for hunting practices that target males. In the way we our laws are adapted to this, so that we don't impede on the reproduction of deers. We kill males in an old age so that they add the time to pass on their genes.
Okay, well, so are you against keeping animals in captivity when they don't want to be in captivity?
Well, that's because I don't have a position on this, because I claim that you could never show that an animal doesn't want to be in captivity.
Sure you friggin' can. What are you talking about? Like, especially a wild, well, especially a fucking wild animal. Like, you honestly think a wild animal would want to be in captivity? Like, look at the fucking killer whales at SeaWorld.
I'm neither thinking that he wants to be in captivity and neither thinking that he doesn't want to be in captivity. I am not attributing intent to other life forms.
Well, this doesn't make any sense. There's very clear evidence that certain animals don't want to be in captivity. They become highly irritable. They try to escape. Like the fucking killer whale at SeaWorld killed its trainer. Like, that's not evidence that it doesn't want to be in captivity?
So do you think that the killer whale who killed its trainer was trying to misadjust that it doesn't like being there?
Yeah, well, dude, a fucking killer whale travels like how many freaking miles per day, and you're putting it into the equivalent of a tiny closet for the friggin' whale. Like, it obviously doesn't want to be there.
Do you think that a killer whale could kill a human in nature?
Well, yeah, obviously, but my point is...
So do you think that means it doesn't want to live in nature?
Well, no, my point is it doesn't want to be in captivity. What, like circus animals? There are elephants that go on a fucking rampage because they're sick of being in fucking captivity. There's lions and tigers that just tried to escape the friggin' circus because they didn't want to be in captivity. Like, what are you talking about?
If an animal is behaving in a way that you believe is expressing suffering, I'm for the limitation of this. I'm saying these animals are not trying to message you that they don't like the idea of captivity. They're not trying to claim their First Amendment right.
Okay, well, dude, what is the standard of evidence that you would require for proof that an animal doesn't want to be in captivity?
I do not attribute intents to animals.
So no, animals have to want something. So, like, they have to have desires.
The word want, no, I don't attribute these desires to animals.
You're saying animals desire absolutely nothing, and you can do anything to them because there's no evidence that they want anything.
I'm not saying they don't desire anything. I'm saying there's no way you could know even if they did. So I'm not attributing intent based on an absence of possibility of evidence.
Okay, dude.
I'm agnostic on animal intentions.
Okay, so if my dog were to go to its food bowl, start flicking it and pushing its nose, that's not a clear intent that it wants food.
Well, it may be an intent that you interpret, and you may have a routine with your dog where he expects some food, and you know that he expects some food. That's fine. But I wouldn't say that there's intention there.
Okay, so if I were to lock a girl in a basement, shackled up, and she kept telling me, "Let me go, please, dear God, let me go." How am I to know if she really wants me to let me go? Maybe this is just some sort of thing she does, like just some thing she says. I can't read her mind to actually know 100% certain. Like there
Absolutely.
are things.
And you know what? When you see a priest on the public space saying that homosexuality is wrong, don't necessarily believe it, because maybe he's sucking dick on every Saturday. People don't necessarily display their intentions, and you might be advantaging yourself if you were to listen to me and be a little more agnostic about your observations of living life forms on this earth, and maybe not be so morally presumptuous as to copy your own thinking onto them, because sometimes people lie and sometimes animals display stuff that you misinterpret.
Okay, sorry. So if there's absolutely no possible way to know for sure what an animal desires or what its intentions are, how can you know if it's suffering? Because you can't read its mind, right? Like, how come you have a different standard for animal suffering, but not understanding like what it wants, its desires are, and what its intentions are?
Absolutely. The entirety of animal suffering claims are based on inference, and they are based on our understanding of physiology and how they compare to us, but they are all inference. We currently have no scientific data that indicates that animals suffer, and that we will never have access to the subjectivity of someone else. That's a philosophical problem called the hard problem of consciousness. You can raise your eyes.
You believe in solipsism?
You can raise your eyes if you want. That is an important philosophical problem.
So you believe in
Jeff,
listen to it. And the fact that you refuse to let our audience learn about it shows that you're not interested in the true understanding. What?
You getting really heated. I want to pick your brain on this. Chill fuck out. Okay. If I grab
I'm chill.
Cool. Just smoke a fucking joint or something. If I grab my cat by the tail, my mom's cat by the tail, you know it's in fucking pain and it's trying to claw you to fucking get the fuck away. Also,
absolutely. I'm saying that's an inference, and it's probably true.
Okay, cool. Okay. Now, secondly, my mom's cat, and I've had a few cats in my life, right? Knows specifically the cat food temptations. If it sees that fucking bag, it is grabbing that bag like it's crack. It knows, I want my temptations, and I want them fucking right now. And if we were to grab other food, the other food that we leave in the other cupboard at my mom's house, it will walk to the cupboard with the temptations and be like, "Nah, bitch, I want this shit." And we have to like mix it with the regular food. May you explain that?
Yeah. My point is that what you're seeing there is a functional cat brain, and that's normal, and I've seen it too. In fact, I've worked with animals, and I've worked on rewarding animals with juice and food. So this exists. What I'm saying is when you use the word knows, when you say my cat knows temptation, you are using a construct. Now, this construct is not totally invalid. You are pointing to actual networks in his brain that somehow associate the presence of the signal or the noise of the bowl or the shape of the bowl to all sorts of behavioral activation, such as salivating, such as looking at you because he knows you're going to be the one delivering the food, all sorts of behaviors. But this is a network of neurons operating. When we say no and when we say intent, we just have to be careful to understand that all observed behavior leads to attribution of intent by inference. And sometimes we may be wrong. I'm not contesting that we're always wrong, but sometimes we may be wrong. That's all I was saying.
Okay. Do you believe that these neurons, there's positives and negatives? Sorry, Richard, but like, for example, yeah, I understand it's the like, all right, so the cat hates being hung by its tail, and it creates like a rah, and tries to scratch you, right? Which is obviously a negative reaction. Don't we understand from that reaction that, all right, this cat ain't happy? Sure, it's not as conscious as a human being, but we can at least, and for example, if I pet my cat underneath its mouth over here, like in the chin, it will roll over and will be like, yeah, fucking love me. Well, no, it's neurons.
I'm so glad that you asked this question, because it brings me back to the subject that you guys have censored by cutting me 3 minutes ago. So the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem of consciousness is very simple. It's the fact that you will never get access to how it feels to be a bat or how it feels to be a cat. So all of that you do there is inference. It's probably valid inference. And if you ask me, JF, if you had to make a call, is it 50-50 that cats have minds, or is it more like 90% sure that they have minds? I'm pretty much 90% sure that they have mind. Yes. But that is a call, and the hard problem of consciousness recognizes that you can never know how that mind works other than by looking at the neurons, and you can never feel subjectively what these neurons produce, because to be experiencing subjectivity, you need to be the agent of subjectivity. You would need to be that brain. You never know how it is that a cat feels, and it may be very different from you.
Okay, this is just another clear example of you contradicting yourself and changing your standards around to suit you. So you said you were against causing unnecessary animal suffering. So you're like, by your own reasoning, you're just making assumptions on what makes an animal suffer. So me beating a cow with a lead pipe, that's making it suffer. So you think that's wrong. But then when I pressed you on the point that, you know, some animals might not want to be in captivity, and that would go against your own ethical standards, well, then you just move the goalpost further back. Well, we can't ever know for sure what an animal wants, so then it's okay to keep every animal in captivity.
No, my question is, because you used the word want and you didn't use it in the first case. You see how you presented the pipe wrench being hit on the head of the cow, and then you move to, do animals want to be in captivity? I claim that there are certain captive environments in which animals can be not suffering. Do you agree or disagree with this?
Well, okay, I can concede to that point, but I was pressing you on, like, do you think it's immoral to keep an animal in captivity when it doesn't want to be in captivity?
Well, I will say, how do you interpret your want? Is your want based on a demonstration of suffering? If the animal is suffering, it will depend on the level of suffering. It will be a subjective evaluation that I could make the call if you show me the animal. It will be, everyone will have its own subjectivity threshold at which they are not willing to let this animal be in that scenario. But I don't think that the farm animals that we're talking about are at any point of suffering where I would personally want to stop it.
Oh, okay, so like, what if I could demonstrate that a chicken really doesn't want to be in captivity, and we could prove that beyond a reasonable doubt? Would you think it's immoral to keep that chicken in captivity?
But I don't attribute intent to chicken. So there's no, the hard problem of consciousness is that you cannot attribute intent to chicken. So you can make calls. You can project your own mind onto the chicken, but we don't even know how the chicken mind works.
Right.
So anything that you interpret in their behavior will be interpreted in human terms, and I don't attribute the human liberties that I attribute to other humans to chicken.
So then you can't say an animal ever suffers in any industry, because, like, you're making an appeal to solipsism. You can't know what an animal is thinking. Like, with 100% certainty, you can't read its mind. So how can you say that it's wrong to cause animal suffering for no reason when you can't even prove that they ever suffer, but it's okay to keep them in captivity because we can't prove that they don't want to be in captivity? That makes no sense.
It's not because you have an imperfect call about the situation that you cannot say anything about it. If I was to tell you I have a coin that's loaded 60% one side and 40% one side, you wouldn't be certain of the outcome, yet you would bet on the 60%. I do bet that chicken have some sort of suffering. I'm not willing to acknowledge the catastrophic claim that all chicken are currently suffering and that all of chicken lives on Earth currently are not worth living.
Okay, right, but that doesn't have to do with my question of animals in captivity, where they, like, some animals don't want to be in captivity.
But again, you say in captivity. I'm telling you, there's 1,000 environment of captivity. Some of them are good. In my view, some of them are not good in my view.
I can agree some are better than others. I can definitely agree with that.
So how about we try to converge toward the best one and keep the animals alive instead of genociding them?
Okay, well, even in the best situation of captivity, say an animal doesn't want to be in captivity.
You're making an hypothetical here. How are you going to demonstrate that in the best environment possible, they don't want to live there? No, I'm telling you, you have no proof to base your claim on. What is your proof that animals don't want to live in captivity? What if your captive environment was a freaking jungle? What if it was the movie Biodome with Pauly Shore? And
you always bring up Biodome.
Biodome was the best movie. Biodome was the best movie.
Like 3 times already. This guy, Biodome.
This is just
in theory, you could make an artificial environment that's exactly like the natural environment in which you want chicken to live, right?
Okay. Well, what if, like again, what if aliens abducted us and they created an artificial environment for us to live, and it was exactly the same as the one we're living in now? Would you prefer to live in that artificial environment that's exactly the same, or would you prefer to live in the real environment?
Same answer as before. I would be on the revolutionary side, but I wouldn't misunderstand those people who choose to live in the Matrix, and I would respect them.
Okay, right, but you can't actually like again, it's funny. You say that I can't prove that a chicken doesn't want to be in captivity. You can't actually prove that a chicken wants to be in captivity.
No, I don't. So but I don't make claims about chicken intent, so I don't have to prove it. You are the one making the claim. I didn't say that chicken want to be in captivity, nor do I say that they don't want. Because anyway, captivity is undefined, and you've recognized that it's on a continuum between the natural state and the current state of farms. And so, no, I don't have to make the claim.
Well, even if we could agree that chickens want to be in captivity, do they want to be murdered?
I don't the word want does not attribute to chicken.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we can inductively reason that a sentient being doesn't want to be killed.
We can inductively reason that a sentient being wants to reproduce.
Right, but we can also inductively reason that it'd rather not die.
Maybe some beings rather not die, but not all. There are beings that are fine dying. For example, the cichlid fish is totally fine dying to its 300 babies so that the babies can eat its flesh, so that the babies can live on and have more food. There are animals that are fine dying. I'm sorry, vegan gains.
Well,
yeah, may I just bring us up something? We have a very, very important question in the crowd. Have you ever, Richard, have you ever heard of Billy the Anti-Bully?
No.
It's Jim. It's Mr. Mitter.
It's Mr. Metaker is going, what are your thoughts on elite pig semen? So,
elite pig semen.
Elite pig. So he's like, Andy, you need to bring up elite pig semen some more. So,
I don't know. Like, I'm against selective breeding. So I don't know if you could call any like elite pig semen. What do you even mean by that? Like, if you're talking about like a pig that's ideal for industry farming, if you're talking about using its semen to impregnate other pigs, I wouldn't call that elite. It's just what you consider elite for that industry.
Say a stronger, smarter pig.
Okay, well, I guess that would be. Like, what do you mean by stronger? Like, better suited to survive, or it has more muscle for the industry?
Let's say
industry.
No,
I was just kidding.
Let's just say like in general, it's just an elite pig. Like you look at this pig and you're like, this pig will fuck some shit up. Okay, Metaker, I need some more clarification. What do you mean by elite pig semen? This is
you gave no specification, and
he's DMing me like this is the most important thing in the world right now. So,
well, I presume an elite pig would be like the pig that all the female pigs look at, and they're like, Jesus Christ,
or like a fuckable pig.
Yeah, a fuckable pig from the perspective of a female pig.
But but JF, how would you know what the pig is thinking? What if
here's the thing, Andy, I wouldn't. Because hard problem of consciousness, I wouldn't. Yet I can make calls about stuff. I can. That's the beauty of morality, by the way. It's that we know that we don't know how the world will unfold for sure. We're always making calls. We're always, when we're choosing a mate, do you really know if she's the right mate? Well, you have to make a call, and it's statistics, and it's dirty. It's fine.
Well, again, like, just the word choice you use and your explanations, it just makes me think that this whole argument you're creating is, this is just the way it is, therefore I find it morally acceptable. Like, it's like, I don't know, it's like an appeal to current reality. It's really strange.
Not so much, because I did judge things in the past different from things in the current state, like slavery. I know I'm not appealing to current reality. I'm saying I'm in a certain way, and I have moral preferences. Some of these moral preferences have evolved in a way that I'm fine with chicken farming.
You weren't actually.
I'm not saying it's an objective truth.
Like, you weren't actually clear about slavery. I mean, like, if we were to keep black people as slaves, we can ensure black people never die out. So, like, I'm sure eventually, like, hundreds of years in the future, it'll basically be one race just because of globalization and shit. Like, you could say that would be a black genocide. Keeping black people as slaves would ensure there'd always be black people. So would that be moral? Because there'd always be black people?
No, I don't think it would be preferably moral, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. If humanity converges to a point where there are kind of ethno-states, where there are local areas of the world where people reproduce together to maintain a race, maintain a genetic difference with the rest of humanity. I'm neither morally objected to it, neither am I offended by it. It's the same thing as the aliens. If some humans decide to be farmed by aliens, or if some humans happen to be farmed by aliens and they evolve to be fine with it, I wouldn't judge them.
All right, like, at this point, it's just whatever. I think your argument is bizarre and self-contradictory in some ways, and
it is bizarre, but it is not self-contradictory.
I think it is. I think I pointed that out a few times, but whatever. Agree to disagree.
Will be free to judge. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, is there any other good questions here? Because if not, I mean, we've had a good. It was a good what?
That was a good one. Yeah.
That was great. I don't know. How do you feel that went, Richard?
I think it was really good.
That was fun.
Yeah, I'm happy with that debate. We got to flesh out our arguments really well, and yeah.
Hey, let me ask you one thing before, because we usually what we do is we have you do like final thoughts and shit, and then JF and I just read super chats at the end when guests leave, so you don't have to stick around for that. But may I just ask you one thing? Because it seems like a year or two ago, you used to be a lot more fucking intense, angry. You like would hold a knife around and be like, "Motherfucker, you like this shit?" And like. You know, like it seems like you're a lot more chill lately. I don't know.
Not really. Maybe in some ways. I did have like really bad fucking anger problems before, and I actually got therapy for it. But I don't know. I still have like an insane amount of rage inside. It's just that it's like under control, basically.
That's good. You feel better or what?
Yeah, I feel better. Like, I still have ups and downs now and again. Like, I've been dieting for a few weeks now, and that's really fucking triggered things a bit. But, you know, I'm better overall.
I think that's good. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's good, because fucking, yeah, I mean, we all have our ups and downs. I get fucking neurotic and shit, but that's good to see, because you came in here and you're, like, a lot more chill, so I just noticed that. Do you have any final thoughts on the whole debate, dude?
Yeah, I'd just say, like, he's like choosing to arbitrarily value genetic lineage, and then that just leads to these weird contradictions with his other moral beliefs, because he's against causing unnecessary animal suffering, but like selectively breeding animals in turn creates animal suffering. He wants to preserve like the existence of certain species, but like just by nature of genetic manipulation, like selectively breeding. You're changing the species into something completely different than it was before. So you could call that a genocide or an extinction. And like when I press the point, like throughout the debate, you kind of tried to make it a point that this was sort of an evolutionary choice for these animals to live in this sort of way in captivity and agriculture. But then when I argued, okay, well, can't you understand that some animals don't want to be in captivity? Then you made this appeal to solipsism that, well, you can't know for sure, so then it's okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. JF, do you have any thoughts on how everything went?
Yeah, so on my side, the question of choice, I've corrected the word. It doesn't matter to me. And the solipsism that he's attributing to me, I don't see it at all because I didn't make the argument that he represents. What I make the argument of, whenever I talk about what I like about the world, it's really a moral preference. I do not claim that it's morally good to have chicken exist, and I do not claim that it's morally bad to have chicken exist. I'm just a guy with preferences. And when I look at chicken, I'm impressed, and I like it. I like their lifestyle. I like the fact that they exist. And Vegan Gains has argued earlier that existence of life forms is something. He has recognized that it's a value. So maybe we just differ in how we prioritize these values. My values are not in contradiction because they are ordered. I say existence first, experience and suffering second.
Cool.
All right.
Any thoughts on elite pig semen, JF? We didn't ask you.
I love eliteness. I love pigs. So I guess I'm all for elite pig semen.
You know, someone actually like someone in the chat's like, "Yo, Jim's trolling Andy." I'm not a fucking moron. Okay, he wanted me to ask that. He found it funny. Elite fucking pig semen. That's the new meme. But yo, that was a great conversation. And Richard, if you're ever down for swinging by and debating or talking about anything else that's not vegan related, I know you have a lot of thoughts about different things, and you're very interesting also outside the debates about this subject. So you're always welcome on, dude. And we should plan that soon, dude.
Okay, for sure. Oh, cool, and one more thing. I just found some undercover animal slaughterhouse footage, and it's from a slaughterhouse in Toronto. They're actually doing illegal shit, and I'm going to make a video about it tonight. I'd like JF to definitely watch it. And for anyone who's interested about, what actually goes on in the industry in slaughterhouses, should definitely check it out. I'm going to work on it tonight. It's probably going to be uploaded early.
I have his link down there. Yeah, I have his link down there. Go check him out. While I'm not a vegan, I do watch, obviously not all your videos because it's hard to watch every single YouTube video, but you do make interesting shit. And I like when you go on your rampages and your insults. It's pretty funny. So check him out. Always good to watch people you disagree with or you agree with. It's awesome. Thanks for being on the show, buddy.
All right, no problem.
Bye-bye.
All right, peace out, Richard.
See ya.
Andy, I see on my Discord someone says, starting Biodome now. Is it actually good?
Oh, no.
Yes, it is actually good. And the IMDb rating is a fraud. It's the greatest fraud ever made in the cinema industry.
Please tell me you're saying this in sort of in the sense of elite pig semen.
This was a good film.
There was like an actual part in the movie that like was pretty damn rapey. When one of the I think it was not Pauly Shore. Who was the other guy? He's one of the brothers of like Baldwin. Baldwin.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is. Yeah. There's like a part where he literally like goes into a bed with a chick and grabs her tits or something. And in the 90s, he was like, "Oh, that's so funny." But now it's just like, you're like, that's pretty #me too.
I didn't interpret it as rapey at all. It seemed that the girl enjoyed it.
I can't remember. Okay, you know what? I had never watched Biodome. I did watch, Nostalgia Critic, how he reviews the movies in like 20 minutes. So that's the scene I saw. Maybe he put it out of context. It was not rapey to you, though.
No, I do not remember that there is any rapey scene in Biodome. There are sex scenes, Some of them occur under laughing gas drugging, but I did not interpret it as rape in my case.
I'm not saying you legitimately know a lot about Biodome.
Oh, Biodome, I know it by heart. I've watched this thing 50 times. The only better movie is Fight Club.
Fight Club's awesome. By the way, if you enjoyed the debate, guys, and the show, hit like, help support us. We were, I think, number 9 on Peak or number 8 at some point. So that was fucking cool. And thank you again, everyone, for donating. We're gonna slam through some super chats though after pounding this Red Bull. And the reason I drank this, dude, I was on Failure with Money. If you type in Failure with Money, he has mornings with Failure at 9 a.m. Then I did Tonka's show at 11:30, and then I took a 2-hour break, and then I did this show. So this was my fucking. This is my. It was fucking stream day because I have the weekend off and no streams planned. It's been an interesting day, and so I'm gonna take a piss because this fucking a Red Bull, and I drink a coffee before this too. But may I just say, that debate was, first of all, the super chats were making me fucking die at a certain point. Like I literally was laughing.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you were retaining your laugh.
yeah, and some people were DMing. They're just like, "Oh, Andy, just fucking laugh out loud. Who cares?" That's why I started being like, I couldn't, because there was one guy. Oh man, I didn't want to interrupt too much. Hang on, the funniest. It's so fucking retarded. Jeremiah B, $5 said, I used to own a farm. I gave my animals the chance to revolt. I gave them guns and a method to rebel. They ended up looking at me like I was an idiot.
That's actually a good point. I love it. It's like, that's why I say it's dangerous to attribute intent to animal, because what are you gonna tell that an animal wants to live free? Is it because he runs 1 mile away from the farm? Is it because he runs 500 kilometers? There's no criteria by which you will conclude that he doesn't want the protection of its shelter.
Yeah. I understand your point on that. I understand his point as well. I'll watch that video tonight, but that's hard to watch, the animal killing stuff.
Yeah.
But and that's actually part of the reason I became a vegan in the first place. And I went cold turkey, by the way. It was just like meat one day and then vegan the next day, and it went well for a bit. But then I'm also iron deficient, and I was like starting to get really fainty all the time and shit. I couldn't handle it. But with that being said, everyone, again, hit like if you enjoyed the show. Do we have anything planned? Okay, can we have some good things planned next week? We still have to iron out the details, so I don't want to announce anything quite yet. I'm going to put it on screen share. Hang on, let me move this out of the way so we don't have the link showing.
We do have distributors who would be only available on Friday. So if we can keep the Friday for distributors, that would be great.
Perfect. Oh, and by the way, on Wednesday, at some point, I'm going to hop on a stream. I'm not going to say the name of the person quite yet. A guy who's been watching since Warski Live 1, and he's been supporting a lot of people with super chats and being in the chat, just recently passed away. It was a really horrible story, and I think on Wednesday, a few YouTubers have invited me to do a memorial stream. They don't want me to reveal the name quite yet because the parents have a hold of the social media, and they don't want to be flooded with stuff before the memorial. They're still obviously taking time to grieve. The moment I knew this person, I saw this person's name on DMs, I was like, oh, I know that person. And they're like, yeah, he died. And I'm like, what? So Wednesday, I'll let you all know on Twitter. Yes, the memorial on Wednesday, kind of sad. I mean, very, very sad. I didn't know him personally, but he'd been around the community. So Wednesday, I have that planned. All right. So it's like, it was Sargon of Akkad. No, he's fine. He's fine. All right. Anyway, I'll do this.
All right. OV Warrior, $5 US. Would VG VG like to set all the cows free in the forest. What do we do with domestic farm animals? Kill them all? They clearly can't survive in the wild. Bad Mr. Gary, $2 US. I'd buy an audio book of JF reading Green Eggs and Ham. Ineffable Earth, $5 US. VG. If humans go to a plant-based diet, animals will become competition for food. Can we eat the carcass of our competitors to gain their power? Bug 20 MX. Have you guys read A Cow's Daily Life by Schindel? I haven't. Gavin West, $5 US. Good point, Ovi, but he hasn't thought that far. Falkreed Guard, $1 Canadian. Thank you for the donation. Aaron Richards, $5 Australian. VG, why were you dumpster diving for vegan food? Wouldn't it be more ethical to dive for non-vegan food so that the animals didn't die in vain? Falkreed Guard, $2 Canadian. Big pieces. Oh yeah, those are okay. He's sending some racist messages for $2 Canadian. I'm not reading a racist message for $2 Canadian. You gotta be kidding me, dude. Dope Effect, $5 US. Vegan gains just BTFO. All hail the Queen Chicken. I just got BTFO. All hail the Queen Chicken. I really like this Queen Chicken metaphor. I've been designing this for my book. So I'll be waiting for Andy to scroll a little bit.
I've returned.
All right, we can scroll.
Oh, right here. I can pound through. Yeah, by the way, this Falkreath dude, I warned him in the chat about like 4 times. Told him to stop
I didn't read this stuff.
Yeah, I ended up fucking abandoning him. So when I let him do a few in the chat, I let him say the N-word a bunch of times. Do it once in a while, you're joking around, whatever, I'm not going to stop you. But when you're doing it constantly the entire time, it's just like, and I warned you 4 times with the orange box, just chill out. Just take a fucking chill.
Andy, 1 time, it's okay. But 2, it's not.
No, you can say the N-word 4 times. That's it. You have a 4 limit in a row.
What about rape? How many rape are needed to offend you? I was asking about actual rape. I was not asking about the word rape. I was like, how many actual rape would it need to offend you? And you said unlimited.
No, I thought you meant the word. You fucking Hey, Sean and Jen, clip that and put it up. Andy's in for rape. Fucking idiot. Fucking these people clipping shit. Fuck, I went on a mute vest. Anyway, where were you? Dope Effect?
Yep.
Dope Effect, $5. Vegan Gains just got blown the fuck out. All hail the Queen Chicken. Duncan Massive, $5. If Vegan Gains ate meat, he would find it easier to think, then he wouldn't need to wave his gun around to think he won an argument. Mario pissed off, $10. I read that one. Thank you very much. Ben Orr, $2. And maybe if he ate meat, he could debate properly. I read that one. Thank you again, Kevin West. He did 2 actually. Thank you so much, dude. Numufu, $5. I read that one too. Tilly Law, what's going on? Our scientist, our other scientist from Germany. $5, Gavin. That's called a neutralistic fallacy, mate. I can't believe I said that word. Oh my, natural. Is it naturalistic?
Yep, exactly.
Fuck! I said neutralistic. Always one word.
Naturalistic.
I hope fucking Medicare's not watching right now. He put me with a fucking autist hat on, said I have autism, and put fucking I think I read that one. Gabriel Lopez again. Thank you for the $50, man. You're fucking awesome. Dr. Red Pill, not to be confused with Coach Red Pill, $2. JF, Viva la England.
You can see that he's more educated than Coach Red Pill. He has a doctorate in red pilling.
Yeah, Coach Red Pill's like fucking. He's just a coach for like some kids, this little child. Hey, he's bringing everyone in a fucking van to the fucking park to play soccer. Zach Ungar, $5. What's vegan? Wait, no, here it is. What's vegan gains' alternative? Let them run wild and get eaten by coyotes instead. Xenomancer, $10. JF's neck looks fatter than his head. Ooh, burn. Do you have any battles? No fucking
It's
way.
amazing. Every time I shave my beard, people think I got fatter. And it's just that my neck is not hidden by a beard. That's it. I'm as fat as I was last week.
He said not fucking up his way down the East Coast is taking a toll on his health. Jeff Smith, $10. Andy, you JF need to be careful. Vegan Gage will find a way to stab you through the cameras, or he is already outside your window and will film it wearing your skin and post it on YouTube for views. LM, I did ask him about the end about his temper. LM, $5. Vegan Gains, more like mystery meat. Fucking funny, LM. You're funny. James Bertelston, $5. Keep up and raise your own chickens. Great eggs, great meat, free fertilizer. Give them the best life possible. What's not to like? Xenomancer, $5. Again, he doesn't like you. Punch JF in the face with a dictionary so you can learn the definition of genocide. Ooh.
Thanks for the money, asshole.
Oh, Xenomancer, Jesus. Dr. Red Pill, our local doctor now. Chickens yell, vegans will not replace us. Bobian, $5. JF, do you value the spread of genetic information over creating a true libertarian society?
The spread of my genetic information might actually take over my libertarian principle. I could abandon some liberty if I knew it was the only way for me to get children.
All right. Xenomancer again with another blow. $5. Someone let JF know his neck will genocide him. Hashtag free the goiter and let him breathe. Yeah, this guy is taking like a couple hours of his work paycheck to take some shots at you. Kumite, Orchard, $10. Tired of shit posting on the internet? Tired of working for Jews? Jesus Christ. There's a Discord. Malcolm from the North, $10. Exchange the word genocide with eugenics. And I think both sides of this debate would make more sense. At this point, masturbation is genocide. I don't know. I could be wrong. Blacks are genetically prone to commit violence. $5 New Zealand, no instinct to bite and claw animals when we see them. Hands picking for plant. Jaw grinds to slide. Long intensifies. We can't eat flesh raw. Do you want to continue from here? Oh,
Gabriel Lopez.
Another shot.
$10.
He's always doing this now.
Yeah, G-Man won.
The rap battle that you had?
Yeah. That really hurts, Gabriel. Beaner1066, £10. JF, the point of veganism is to maintain a natural... Oh, that one we've read. Xenomancer, US, $5. JF is so full of shit, it is pushing out his neck. All right, same guy, same insults. Randomosity 327, $5 US. Cows need so many meds now, they couldn't survive on their own. That is true. I don't know if it's true about the meds, but it's true certainly about the ensemble of conditions we produce for them. Concept Hot, $5 US. Gas the Chopper, it's time for... Also, I'm glad to see you're doing so great now. I'm interested to see where you take things. Thank you. Gabriel Montreuil, $2 Canadian. Soylent Green. Not JF, £5. Let the Garsty humans life. Xenomancer, $5 US. Just listen to this scientist rattle off assumptions left and right with no pushback. What a hack.
I pushed back a little bit today. I was pushing back on some things I questioned you on, right?
Yeah, I think you were particularly scandalized on the moment of slavery.
No, that and the cat being hurt and stuff like that.
Yeah. Edwin Boy at $5.
I will speak out when I think you're wrong, and you could explain your answer. If we agree to disagree, that's cool.
Yeah. Edwin Boy at $5 US. A strong ethical position on aliens farming humans. Can you not smoke all the drugs before a debate? No, I think those are interesting hypotheses. Ivy Sparks, $2 US. Vegan Gains got spanked. Bravo. Rantling Monkey, $5 US. How many chickens has JF spoken to that we've read? Randomosity 327, $10 US. Vegan Gains. People go to prison willingly. If this was to happen to humans, we are smart enough to realize if these aliens are that much superior to us, and we will choose life over death. I agree with this. LM, $5 US. Can animals consent to sex? Vegan Gains. Unity Mitford, £5. Plants have been known to release gas when picked. Are they alive? Also try and get Mike Stockberry on for some sort of historical debate. DK, $5 US. VJ is hunting a wild animal with a gun better than a carnivore killing with its claws, teeth, given that the latter causes less suffering? Good question. And
oh, by the way, there's a guy who wants to. Yeah. I'll keep reading. There's a guy who wants to debate you. A guy I've streamed with like a year ago or two. His name's Carlos. He's an archaeologist and says that he can use his studies and findings to debunk why race is not real.
Oh boy, bring it on!
That's gonna be fun. He's like DMing me, like, why aren't you responding to me, Andy? I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying to get through everything. Like, I have so much people have to organize right now, but that's gonna be a fun one. We will check that one out. Yeah. Kingslayer Democles, $2. Moralistic fallacy. Howdy, $5. I'm late, but did they address the frequency of suicide in humans, but rare / non-existent in other species? Why do animals not commit suicide?
Because they don't have the tools for it.
Yeah, if you want to take that call, I could continue. If you want to meet Mike.
All right. No, it's okay.
All right, cool. Someone phoned you. Was like, nah, never mind. Random City 327, $2. Everything causes cancer. How life causes cancer. Gabriel Lopez, $5. As a libertarian, if we're gonna ban anything, soy would be the number one thing.
Soy priority.
I want to see fucking Paul Joseph Watson have to respond now. Dodo Sweden 50 sec. Thank you very much. Agopian $5. And in cooler climates, milk, cheese, etc. are cheap. Comparatively, calories. Vegan Gains keeps strawmanning. A Predator Games $5. Anything that doesn't eat meat is food. Save the animals. Eat soy boy vegans. 10 sec from Dodo Sweden. Again, thank you very much. John Fabdis, $5. What the fuck, Andy? Picked a real winner tonight. Rolling eyes. What, you didn't like the change of pace? We're gonna change it up once in a while. All right, we have a religion debate next week. It's gonna be fucking cool. Some other shit, and we're gonna explore different realms of debates and discussion. Old Warrior $2. Andy needs a bigger window to show his reactions. People were DMing me like, your fucking reactions, Andy. Vladimir Dragunov $10. Hunting is the most humane, ideally way of getting meat. It also serves of keeping animal populations in check when it's regulated. I myself am firmly against poaching / overhunting. Dodo Sweden 10 sec again, thank you. Kingslayer Democles $2. Moralistic fallacy again, come on, man. Brink off animations $2. Wow, VG is soy mad. It's butternut $5. Andy, why are you such a drama whore? Seriously, stop entertaining. Be poor, get shit in order. You've been around for 12 years. You don't need to pay no dues, or you ain't paid no dues. Sarcasm detected. Fernie B, $5. Help, I have a life decision to make. A carne asada, fries, hot dog, hot wings, or a hamburger. Please, I'm hungry. I suggest make a little bit of everything. Michael Peckham, $5. Hey, VG, if you pissed enough Are you going to threaten JF with a knife? He did not, and it ended up being pretty chill. Kingslayer
People kept telling me that there was danger would assault me. I
Wait,
think
what?
we saw people were telling me there was danger he was going to threaten me with a knife. I think we saw a very reasonable guy there. I don't know if in the past he's been, but to me, it was a very high quality discussion.
Yeah, no, he's a cool dude. That's why I asked him like why he's more chill now, because he just seems more reasonable, which is cool. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Michael Peckham, 5. And he lives near me actually. Not like in the same city, but like a drivable. Michael Peckham, $5. Hey VG, if sorry, King's Slayer Democles, $2. Go ahead. I'm not going to try it.
Phytoestrogens can increase cancer growth as well. It's fodder not $2 Canadian. What the fuck, Andy? Real questions? Okay, how do insects rate? Not JF, £5. I don't think that JF is okay with killing the dairy industry. He just doesn't mind if it dies off. VG just confuses himself with his semantic. I am so happy that people have actually listened to my words and that they will be able to trace the misrepresentations of my word. Do Sweden, 20 sec. Kiefer Brown, £5. Quibbling over semantics and repeating the word goalpost over and over is by far the best way to win an argument. The Crimson Satyr, $5 Canadian. Does the Queen Chicken know the way? No, she does not. Anderson Paladin, $5 CA. And the McDonald cost, and remember the 6 millions. DA, $2 US. Adam, destroy the soy, save the guy Warski. Flanders Baller, $2 Canadian. Can we hunt for meat in the soy no state?
No, the best was some guy was talking in the chat. I was dying. The chat was so funny today. You were talking about the Queen Chicken, and he's like the egg no state. Oh man! Here, I'll read a few.
Okay, go for it.
AW, $2. If plants could scream, would you still eat them? Ask yourself. $5. Can JF? Oh, ask yourself is the guy we debated before.
Yeah, I debated him. Yeah.
Yeah, and me as well. Can JF?
You did? I didn't know.
Yeah, Chris and I both debated, and we were stuck on that alien question for a long time. Can JF hashtag name the trait true of animals, which, if true, of humans, would justify a worker queen system to feed aliens? LOL.
No, that I cannot justify. It's gonna be a part of the population of humans is gonna get captured and farmed. So be it. I'm not saying it's morally good or morally bad, and I'm not saying there's a special trait for these humans. They will get picked for some reason, and so be it. They become farm animals.
Yeah, and Guardian, $2. I checked your DM and you had some good questions, dude. Atia Sazbo, $5. VG. Many people, especially in the politically right, don't believe in climate change. Inform the idiots about how vegan lowers your carbon footprint. Did you want to respond to that?
How veganism lowers your carbon footprint. Oh yeah, it probably is the case. I'm not informed precisely, but it probably is the case. But yeah, I mean, the heating of the planet will occur.
Awesome. Where are we? Okay, ask yourself, $5. Also, did I read this? No. Ask yourself, $5. Also, evolution is a natural process. Appealing to evolution is just a subcategory of the appeal to nature fallacy.
I'm not appealing to evolution. I'm appealing to my preferences. These preferences have evolved, yes.
Aiden, $2. Vegan gains out of his depth. Mr. Mystics, $5. Are you mad at predators as you are with humans for killing chickens, since we are all equal? Are we artificial organisms beyond the nature order like God? His answer to that would be that humans have more consciousness and have the ability to know how to be a vegan. Therefore, killing an animal would be pointless in his opinion. I was a vegan for a long time, and I know all the debate tactics that that they believe in. And yeah, here we go. Nerve Honor, £5. JF, as a naturalist, how do you dichotomize? Sorry, I was just stuttering there. I didn't not know how to spell that. The nap when to sapiens and other animal species, define the line on nap for humans, not Neanderthals, chimps. Sorry, that's like
very
really
good question.
Right,
very good question. The non-aggression principle, do I extend it to any animal? No. The non-aggression principle to me is a contract that humans agree on. In fact, when you think about it, we don't extend the nap to criminals, for example. So I'm not saying that chimps are criminal, but I'm saying we use arbitrary lines to decide who we respect the liberties of.
Beautiful. Recovering Neat, $20. Veganism is another ideology that treats us as an abstract thought bubbles and not natural humans in the real world. Animals cannot recognize rights as a concept, and so we can never bargain with them like a human, for fuck's sakes. It's Butternut, $20. Hey, I am now broke. I read that one, and thank you very much. I read that it was a DM he sent me and paid $20 so I could see it. I was trying to collect even more questions on my notepad down here. I had a bunch more, but it's really hard to fit in a bunch of questions when we're having such an awesome talk. But thank you all so much. Gabriel Lopez, another 10R, man. I love you. In fact, male vegans can only ejaculate once a day to avoid health risks. Plan your fuck slash masturbation accordingly. Flanders Bowler, $5. Hey JF, I am flying down to Montreal to go see Fate / Heavens Feel on Thursday. Please come see me with me, senpai. Hashtag not a date, I swear.
When you ask for these invitations, please specify if you have a vagina.
Because he wants the dick. I'm just kidding. Vagina, yuck. Anderson
I used to ask for specifying if you're a woman, but since woman has been abused and extended to people who want to be a woman, I now ask for vagina, functional vagina.
There we go. Anderson Paladin, $2. Vegan gains. Just think of cows as a really big bugs, but yummy. Vladimir Dragunov, $10. VG, what's your opinion on Texas government unrestricted hunting on feral boars, which are an invasive species that cost Texas hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages yearly? I'm sure he would say something along the lines of like, it sucks, but it's it's something that we have to do because it's what did he say? One of those necessary evils. I'm sure.
Yeah, and we both have our necessary evils. My necessary evil is the suffering of chicken. Vegans' gain necessary evil is the non-continuation of chicken.
There we go. Jassy Blooduck, $5. Vegan, if eating only meat was superior in terms of diet, would you be for it? You may take a look at Sean Baker at Sean Baker MD on Twitter. Random City 327, $5. VG, create a technology to talk to the chickens so we know what they actually want. But at the moment, chickens can't talk. Merc, $5. It was at this point VG lost the plot. Stuart JS Day, $5. Holy shit. This was on the slavery shit, by the way. Random City.
I knew it.
Yep. Random City 327, $2. Africans sold slaves to the Europeans in the first place. Alexander Jokic, 50 DKK. I am not super morally offended by the fact that slavery existed. It was evolution. LOL.
It is a fun statement, but I mean, it's true. And if you want to be totally offended, you would essentially be disagreeing with the fact that now black people can exist in America. It was a rough trade, but it happened.
Yeah. Orgrin, $5. The fucking madman. He made a moral slavery argument. Revenge of the Dreamer, $10. Vegan gains. And JF, what is your viewpoint on hunting and people who eat meat from elk or deer they hunt? Vegans shouldn't have any problem with this since there's no suffering involved.
Yeah, personally, I don't, but I'm sure he would.
He would, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Jargon, 100 SEK. Praise JF for solid logic. Alexander Jokic, 20 DKK. Morality is a pile of crap. This guy is a gold mine. He's making fun of your quotes.
I think I made some good quotes today. I think we're going to get some clips.
I loved, by the way, when Medicare was telling me, he DM'd me. He goes, yo, because he saw him in the chat say that. And then you two were intensely into it, so I didn't bring it up. And then he DM'd me. He's like, yo, make sure you... And it was a perfect time. And I honestly, it was funny how he was like legitimately trying to answer it for 5 minutes. I kept trying to stretch it out. Like, I'm like, but no, seriously, like elite, like stronger. Like
elite. I saw you were trolling at that point.
Oh, I was just trying to stretch it out. It was funny. It was just I read this one. Thank you, Jeremiah B, for the funny super chat there. Dr. Jargon, 100 SEK. At the dawn of time, JF destroyed the dinosaurs, for they have embarrassed themselves on the public space. He then built the pyramid, successfully invaded Russia, and had some sauerkraut with his tea.
I love this sentence.
That has to be a fucking meme. Do you want to read on?
Yeah, Jared Vance, $10 US, VG. If animals at some point wanted to not be in captivity, they would attack. When animals attack humans, we kill them. That will select for animals that do not have a desire to fight captivity. Absolutely brilliant statement. Matt Draper, $2 US. Killer whales are people. VG1, JF 199. Gabriel Lopez, $5. Just when you thought a veganism debate was getting boring, JF turns it to 11 with Grandpa McRapist and Tyrone McSlay. Jared Vance, $2 US. Crap. Selects against a desire for captivity. Booberly, $2 US. Fuck your aliens. That was a funny one. Yeah. Fuck the aliens. Vladimir Dagonov, $2 US. Vladimir again. Someone check Vegan Gains basement.
Wait, hang on. Oh, you missed an important thing. Booberly threw in hashtag Warski Ghetto with a heart. That's the people in the chat. It's so I have it on a 60-second slow-mo, and it still was that fast.
Yeah.
I try my best, guys. 1 minute is like, I can't do any more than a minute. That'd be just fucking retarded.
That's restrictive of liberty there. Vladimir Dragonov, someone check Vegan Gains basement. Alexander Juggift, 50 DKK. Who says Santa doesn't exist? It's all just based on our simple understanding of the physical world. It's an important philosophical problem. Laughing my ass off. Well, yeah, but we weren't talking about Santa. Jackson, £2. Currently getting a blowjob. Look into my eyes, JF. No, I will not. Bearded Truth, $2 US. In this chat, a lot of BTFO vegans. Doug Bat, $5 US. Warski Ghetto versus the alien invaders. Chicken will join our cause. Be painted like Braveheart. Tread likely. Aliens come for you. Tread on our AR-15s. Okay, he's ready for the wars. The Red Elephants, $5 US. Warski, come on the show to talk race realism. PETA is gay. OV Warrior, $5 US. He has a dog in a cage behind him. La la la. Attila Sabo, $10 US. Fucking idiot. The hard problem of consciousness is very simple. Why don't you try formulating a clear thought? Stop with the soliloquies, JF.
Soliloquies. You fucked up that word.
Soliloquies are very fun, and I keep using them in my speech, and I will continue. TC, US $10. When a cow can read Lucky and explain to me why it has individual rights, I'll stop eating it.
Wait,
love you guys.
You said you fucked 2 days in a row. Oh wait, down on purpose.
Oh, I now do it on purpose every time. Lucky has changed.
I was excited.
2018 was the date John Luck became John Luck. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. I threw an extra because Kevin Logan's not here. Jesus, we're paying our lives with this. We're eating thanks to this. Pop TV, $5 US. Hey, Andy, hey, JF, just can't say it's date night. I'll watch later. P.S. Meat is delicious. Mad Stark 91, $5 US. VG, the orca killed a human because it had been abused by other orcas. It was actually captured in the wild with scars from attacks made by its pod. Ooh, a cultural explanation of the family environment of the orca, which wasn't good. It wasn't the orca's genes. Brockus, $5 US. VG, some people don't want you and your wife to be together due to the difference in race between you both. Should you give in to those people? Absolutely not. OV Warrior, $5 US. Question for VG. Why is your dog in a cage behind you right now? Flanders Baller, $5 Canadian. Hey, VG, I don't know if you have ever visited /A before, but believe me, there are those who want to die naturally. Randomosity 327, $5 US. Is you choosing the woman you love and having her have your child selective breeding? Absolutely. That's why I don't differentiate between natural evolution and artificial selection of any kind. It's all the same thing.
And
JHC.
also sorry to Randomosity. I've been calling him Random City for a few days.
All right, JHC Philosophical, 5 US. The what it is like to be a bat argument by Nagel extends to humans as well. We cannot prove that other humans are conscious. Do you eat humans? No, but I did not use this excuse to say I would therefore eat anything that I cannot prove exists. I simply said I disagree with your semantics. I wouldn't use the word want. Matt Whittaker, £1. Thank you. Mad Stark 91, $10 US. VG. Some women can't be vegan because of menstruation, and I can't because of allergies. We can't process enough vitamins and proteins from supplements. Do you want people like us to die for your philosophy? No, I think that at least Tara McCarthy, who I spoke to, is vegan, but she says there are cases where you have to eat meat and it's okay. She's just favoring veganism.
I told her that too on one of the streams. I told her that when we were debating about the race realism shit. Yeah, she was like, "Oh, yeah, that's fine. If you couldn't handle it, that's fine. That's cool." I'll read a few.
Red elephants. Okay, go for it.
Red elephants, $5. This dude wants white genocide. He just said it, that we all need to mix up and create one race. FJ Cthulhu, $20. Thank you very much. Everything vegan is bland, especially this guy. Chavez Caesar, $2. Nick Fuentes versus Lacey Green. Complete opposites. Do it. I spoke to Lacey today, and you know who she wants to talk. You know who wants to debate her?
Ooh,
Kevin Logan.
Oh my God. We're going to have an intra-leftism debate. We're going to offer a platform to leftism.
Yeah, let's see how much complaints I get about that. Shit. So where the fuck? Here it is. Beard of Truth, $2. Andy, take a vote on winner. 1 JF, 2 vegan gains. That's your opinion. It will be hard to figure out who won that debate. Stuart JSA, $5. Holy shit, LOL. Do you want a genocide of black people or keep them as slaves? Are you Canadians trying to get Justina Trudeau to kill you all? By the way, funny, we were all Canadian on the stream. A lot of people were triggered in the chat saying we need an American representative in there. Ice Gambler, £5. There's a good reason why we are at the top of the food chain. If you want to be moral and vegan, good for you. Chicken nuggets are the bomb. Cheddar Caesar, $2. What do you call people from Niger? John L. He tried fucking me up there. I know. I know what you were doing. John L. I'm not that stupid. I'm stupid, but not that stupid. John L. $20. Thank you very much. Selective breeding does not eliminate genes. It carries on specific gene traits to the next generation, such as the rodeo bucking bulls we raise with the trait to buck naturally while extending their legs when they kick. Amish Army, $10. And yesterday you mentioned Raka Ali distancing himself from you. Is it possible it has anything to do with him being one of the remaining Kilroy speakers? It might be that, but he said specifically in the DM it was about the path that I am taking. A Flanders Bowler, $5. JF Hearts. JF, I once asked you who the best girl in love live, and or live? And you said you'd Google it and answer later. That was a while ago. Can you please answer now?
Okay, I will answer. Let me Google it and I will answer. And you can keep reading.
Perfect. Son of Sekhmet, $5. JF, how do you argue for an ethical state when the history of Black Wall Street proves it's dumb? That's a whole other a debate on that. Sean, but thank you very much for donating. We really appreciate it. Son of Sekhmet. $5. Sean Berry, $5. Plant or animal life has always existed at the expense of itself. You eating less complex life forms doesn't make you morally superior. A horrible game.
My favorite love live girl is Kotori Minami. After looking at the photo evidence.
Awesome. Horrible gamer. Is that a movie or what?
It's like an episode of something. I don't know. It's like an anime thing. And they're like cute girls.
Oh, yeah. Anime. Hentai. A horrible gamer. $5. Andy said, I had a few cats in my life. Does that mean he's into bestiality? No, I don't fuck cats. My parents, we had 2. And also in Portugal, my grandparents had cats and I love them all. Code Guy Alt number 2. Hey, motherfucker. I found you and unblocked you on all your accounts. I figured out how to do it. $5.
The code is free.
He is free. I grew up hunting and fishing. A lot of folks don't realize that our American wilderness ecosystem is reliant on culling. There's sort of a symbiosis. Do you want to keep reading? We're almost done.
All right. So Luke Brownless, £5. I don't know who's more annoying, vegans, feminists, or Jews. Max Friends, £2. JF looks like a Down syndrome Adam Sandler. Oh, that is so 2004. People have been doing that joke before. Flandreas Bowler, $2 Canadian. JF, I don't have a vagina, but I am a cute trap. That excludes you from my sexual selection criteria.
All right, sign me up.
Code Guy, what? You're willing to take the traps I reject?
No, yeah.
Well, I think we just confirmed that traps are gay. Godkai, alt number 2, $5 US. Ever heard of Orson's cut cards hierarchy of foreignness? It's a way to classify life forms by levels of sentience. Utlaning, Framling, Raman, Varles. No, I didn't hear about it. I think that any claim of sentience in animals is going to be a claim that cannot be fully supported. Kenny FFG, US $10. I'm trying to responsibly mud and time out people, calling people N-word or saying N-word when you said you didn't want it. I'm not banning. They all think I'm censoring. What do you want, Andy?
If the N-word, like it's just like every now and then, or like a Jew joke, or making fun of feminists or women or whatever, we're fine with that. Okay? But when it's an excessive kill all, it's $2 donations with all this horrible shit, do some warnings first. All right? You could do some warnings. And if they like, if you're unsure, reply me, email me, or whatever, and you can ask me. But if it's excessive and you warn them a lot of times, because we're all okay for offensive jokes, I don't give a fuck. All right.
Yeah.
So I know
the general rule is try to be funny and try to be intelligent. And just saying bad messages and kill all, blah blah blah, it's not interesting. It's okay to offend, like Andy said, but. There's an intelligent way to do it.
Yeah. And if it's once in a blue moon they fuck up, like don't ban them immediately. Obviously, please don't do that. But if you see like just non-fucking stop, just be like, hey dude, chill the fuck out, please. Thank you. Or time them out for 300 seconds and then warn them. And when they're back, hopefully they're better. If they keep doing it, you can ban. All right.
Kenny FFG, US $10. I'm trying to respond. Peace Harmony, $5 US. Have you guys seen What the Health? If so, what do you make of its argument about the perverse ties between the meat and pharmaceutical industries? I don't take offense unless it causes animal suffering. Mario Pissed Off, pissed off. $5 US. Jeff, I want to bite your double chin, you beautiful bastard. Let's eat meat together. Again, specify your sex. Nikki Butt, $5 US. Fallacies. None for you, and 10 for me. All your lies won't set you free from fallacies. Do you want to end the...
Yep, we got Mad Stork 91 for $2, 20 at 20% plus not being vegan, genocide versus vegan denial. JF, what a fucking awesome show. If you all enjoy, yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. I hope I was doing well with questions and just sort of spitballing and trying to move things along. I was trying my best there. It was fun. It was a really good talk. And everyone, if you've enjoyed, again, you could support by just hitting like, sharing the channel, letting people know about the show. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of fucking okay, shut up, Jeremy Carroll. He said, did you see Johnny Fox talking about killing himself on Twitter? He didn't do that. I'm gonna make sure.
Oh, by the way, I want to correct something. It is now claimed that Richard Spencer did not say exactly that he was supporting child porn, ethical child porn. He was talking in theoretical terms. I haven't reviewed the thing, but I did see that people were claiming that this was inaccurate information.
Oh my God, this guy's fucking... I talked to him today on Kumite, and I was like, dude, put your shoulders up. It's all good. Take your fucking punches and move on. He goes, I'm done. I'm leaving. If I don't come back in 2 weeks, consider me dead and do a eulogy shitting on me. I don't care anymore. Either way, it's time for me to vanish. Johnny Fox, chill the fuck out. Do you know how much shit I'm getting? How much stress I've been in? Like fucking Johnny Fox. I talked to him. I DM'd him. Dude, chill out. Take your licks. It's fine. Right? He fucked up. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Look, you don't have to like him. No one has to like him. You move on. He's done some good videos that calling people out that I'm like, oh, you fucking bring up a good fucking point. Don't fucking threaten that you're going to kill yourself. That's fucking, don't do that, man. Shoulders up, pound through. Failure accomplished. Talked to Kraut and T this morning. All right. Or last night. And Kraut was like, oh my God, you were doing drama streams. He thinks he's done nothing fucking wrong. And even he's coming back. And Medicare took a big shit on him 4 fucking times. Don't be a fucking pussy. Okay. Come on. Anyway, thank you very much all for watching. We love you all, and we'll see you all next week. And stay tuned on JF's Twitter or my Twitter, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Peace.